Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Like A Could Speed Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. It all began one day in one hospital in China. For reasons that scientists still have no idea of, a young baby was born. A bright glowing baby. From that day onwards, more and more children are born with increasing weird and unique abilities. One may have ice powers, another with flaming arms. Soon, decades passed and soon enough most of the population are possessed some kind of superpower of some kind. And with that comes a great change in society as a whole, as there now exists a job that was once thought to be fictional, now became something people strive for, admired too. Heroes. More and more of these licensed vigilantes pops out across the globe, as their popularity skyrocketed into new heights and reached to a peak with one such hero. All Might, the greatest hero that has ever lived and the symbol of peace for all. Thanks to him, crime is at an all-time low in all of history and an era of peace has been ushered in. But we aren't talking about such a hero in this story. Instead, we're talking about the little guys, the ones among the common folk that tries their best to contribute into this crazy and amazing workforce. The friendly neighborhood heroes of any towns. And one such hero is currently pacing up and down in a hospital. That hero is Takayamaki, Aka Speed Hero, Hermes. He was hoping for Turbo Hero but that was taken a great while ago, so Speed will have to do. His costume is rather colorful as expected but plain compared to others in the same career. A dark blue tight jacket with standing red collar reaching to his chin along with a red tight pants tucked into a pair of red leather boots that has a metal wing-shaped plate sewed into its ankle parts and white rubber soles. A metal fedora with a plastic visor linked to it and pair of leather gloves completes the look. He was on patrol when his office called him to inform that his pregnant wife has broke water. After a quick deal with one of his sidekicks, he ran as fast as he could with his speed quirk to the hospital, where he is directed by the counter to outside the maternity ward where his 10-year-old son is sitting on a bench with a book in his lap accompanied by his kid cousin, Nimiri Kayama, whom was visiting for the weekend. After that, it is the waiting game as he paced back and forth in front of the birthing room with worry look on his face. Dad, his son, Takaya Tetsujin, turned to him worriedly. Mom's been there a while. Yeah, hope she's okay. She'll be fine. He tells him as he increased his pacing, it's just, she needs time. Oh God, please let there be nothing. Calm down. Nimiri tells him, it's not the first time she's been in there, but it's the first time she's been there this long. He exclaimed worriedly, Tetsu didn't take this long, so why is? Relax, Maki. She assures him, patting him on the shoulder, Lisa is a tough girl. And besides, Tetsu-chan's delivery was fine, wasn't it? I'm sure she's just... Then the door opened, interrupting their talk as a doctor walked up with a tired grin on his face. May I know who's the lucky father? I am. Maki exclaimed as he flashed in front of him in a blur. I is. It's a smooth delivery. He assures the panicky hero, before stepping aside, would you wish to see her? The hero dashes past him in a hurry as he took in the sight in front of him. His wife, his beautiful Lisa, sitting on the birthing chair with a small bundle of towels in her arms. A few quick steps later and he is next to her as he took a look at the newest addition to their family. She has her hair, he stated with a smile when he saw the turf of blonde hair. She does, Lisa said with a tired grin as she leaned on her husband's shoulder. Nimiri and Tetsujin entered next, with the young boy jogging up to his parents with a curious look towards the bundle in their hands. Maki wordlessly pulls a chair over for him to climb onto, which he did, and took a look at his new baby sister. The little infant is snoozing silently all snug in her blanket. When Tetsujin looked at her as a new feeling filled his chest, a desire to protect her immediately taking root. This is your new little sister, Tetsu. Lisa tells her son, what do you think? She's so small, he stated in awe. So tiny. Yes, she is. Maki stated, you were like this when you were born too. I am. Tetsujin gently poked the infant's cheek, who flinched a little before resuming her peaceful sleep. Have you decided on a name? The doctor holding a clipboard asked them. We have. The mother of two nodded with a smile before looking at her new daughter once more, Jenko. Tetsuya Jenko. You know, reincarnation is kind of weird. It's hard to describe it. Being reborn as another person is bizarre, especially when you still have memories of your past life completely intact, including how you died. I have never expected my time to come to an end via falling down a flight of stairs and landing at just the right angle to break my neck and ending my life instantly. Good news, I don't feel any pain. Bad news, it makes the entire experience even more jarring. And don't get me started on getting born. Oh, that is one memory I am repressing at all cost. Trust me, you won't want such an experience. For the first couple of months, being a baby is as it is sounds, boring and super awkward for someone with the maturity of a full-grown adult. I mean, even after I left the hospital, or at least, I think it was a hospital, being a newly born infant usually means bad eyesight. But I'm getting off topic here. After leaving the hospital, my parents pretty much left me in a crib, with my new mother coming to check on me whenever I'm awake or hungry, or when I need a diaper change. Speaking of which, being an infant also meant I have little to no self-restraint, with crying being one of the most things I've done for that month next to pooping and peeing. And as an adult, that is really, really embarrassing. I am proud of my restraint from bawling my eyes out whenever I read the part in One Piece about Mary's funeral. What? I get emotional really easily. Getting back on point, in those 2 months, I have somewhat gathered on how my new life is going to be. For one, I'm Japanese, or at least, part Japanese. My new mother, Lisa, is definitely European with the blonde hair and cyan eyes. My new father, Maki or Ma-kun by Lisa, is a full-blood Japanese, with black hair and dark eyes and all that package. Second, my name is Jenko, or Jen-chan, either one, and I'm a girl, which isn't a bad thing considering that I was trans on my past life. I'm so glad that I'm born in the right sex this time. Third, dear old dad seems to be a vigilante of sorts. I have seen him running out of the house in a rather hero-looking costume that just looks like a parody version of Jay Garrick's Flash costume. So probably getting into a hostage situation in the near future. Lastly, I have an older brother named Tetsujin. He seems way older than me, being at least 10 years old whenever I see him. And I'm so happy for this. I was the eldest in my generation in my entire family in my past life, with 2 younger siblings and cousins, not to mention the kids from my older cousins. I was always the one left with taking care of them during New Year's and other family events. Trust me, that is not a fun time. Now being a younger sibling, that I can get behind on. Getting spoiled, blaming the older brother for things he didn't commit, ratting out all his wrongdoings, my list just keeps growing. 3 months after I was born is when I gained the ability to move about, at least roll over to my stomach at least. Trust me when I say this, I want to get out of my infant phase as quick as I could. The faster I can walk about, the better. This month has also marked the first time I get to leave the house. In a stroller, anyway, but I finally get to see the world outside. As soon as I got changed, Mom finally opened the door for a stroll about the park. Now, as soon as we start strolling down the neighborhood, there are already warning bells in my head. For starters, the completely unique people that are wandering about. Sure, you have your normal human, but then I saw some rather unique individuals. People with animal-like heads, people with disproportionate arms, with claws, to even bug-like eyes. And then, there were advertisements in the billboards all over town with what seems to be costumed heroes promoting products all about. Like actual costumed superheroes. Then, for the kicker that drives home that bad feeling, is when we passed an electronics store and something played on the TV on display. You may think that is normal, but it is the content that really shocks me. It was an interview. On one couch is a reporter dressed in a smart-looking black suit. On the other, on the interviewee couch, in a black suit that is strained to the max under his muscular body, is All Might. All Might, as in the fictional character in one of the most entertaining and well-known manga in the recent decade, that All Might. The very same one with blonde hair, antennas, as well as his heroic-sounding laugh. I couldn't process at all that of all the places to be reborn into, I have to be reborn in the universe of My Hero Academia. At least my life is going to get interesting. My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia as called by the so-called elitist, is an amazing manga written by one mangaka that has somehow struck gold on this series. I have followed it since the very first chapter and saw the evolution of the story that is generic but well executed, to a point that it has reached mainstream popularity, all when it has only 100+ chapters. The characters are amazing, not to mention the world setting. A time where some kind of X gene of sorts mutated majority of the world's population, which resulted in a world full of superpowered people, that everyone is an X-Men. What's to love in that? And now, I'm born into it. Call me excited is an understatement. Can you imagine getting a unique superpower through genetics alone, with no super soldier experiment, no accidental lightning shocks, no tragic backstory and all that stupid shit? I mean, unless you're in the Marvel Universe, then your life is going to be racial discrimination tone up to the max to what USA was like in the 1800 seconds. At any rate, after that stroll of the park in the neighborhood, all of the following days and months blended together. I usually ended up with the same schedule: sleep, eat, play with mom or Tetsu, occasionally with dad. It's a haze of events that changed nothing. Although, I have found out more about my parents now. For like, my dad's last name was Tetsuya and his hero name is Hermes, like the Greek messenger god Hermes, and he has a quirk called acceleration, which like the name said, enables him to accelerate himself up to Mach 1, but he can only move forward with it. I can sense a theme with him, speed like Quirk and the wing motif on his costume. And he seems to be quite a popular hero, ranking in the 3 digits if what I have overheard my brother's conversations with his friends is true. Speaking of which, my brother starts bringing his friends over from time to time. Or at least, when I'm awake during the time they are around. My nursery is right next to his room, and he and his friends get really loud at times. They seem to always be talking about some random kid stuff, like what's the latest game, or who did what, or even what trading card they managed to get. Speaking of which, I found out that he is actually quirkless, but he seems rather well liked despite that. I guess just because he is quirkless doesn't mean he would get bullied. Anyhow, his 2 friends sometimes come into the nursery to play with me too, or I sometimes got out and ran into the room without them knowing and was just included anyway. Those were fun times, especially when they sometimes try to teach me stuff that I wasn't supposed to know yet and got Tetsu into a lot of trouble. One time, Mom got so angry when I said the word fuck in front of her, and Tetsu immediately got a lecture followed by a little shock punishment from her quirk, which is that she can generate static shocks from her fingertips. And I think Dad too got one as well, for some reason. Speaking of Mom, I also found out about her job as a prosecutor. There are times where she asked for a babysitter before heading to court, or sometimes left me with some of her colleagues in at the prosecutor office if the sitter isn't available. I had so many fun times there, like this one time when I was 2 and I was left in the office with this lady who was obviously the newbie who panicked over it and just fuss over me the entire time I was there. And I, being the nice person I am, decides to help her distress by disappearing under tables and freaking her out, which leads to a lot of laughs in the office. I got scolded later, but it was worth it. Speaking of babysitters, I cannot believe who she always calls every time. Of all people to my babysitter, it would be Nimiri Kayama, aka Future Midnight. She is different from the manga, considerably younger compared to her adult self, plus that student uniform that doesn't look like Yuyui's, but she definitely is the same Midnight as in the manga. And she is surprisingly great as my babysitter, so nice with me, and her quirk really helped with my nap. Not only that, she is also my aunt. She's apparently his dad's cousin, his uncle's kid of all things. And so, that was my life for my first few years growing up, until when I turned 3 and my mom decided to enroll me in a daycare. My first day at daycare, or kindergarten as my mom puts it, is pretty lonely for me. The very moment after my introductions and the toddlers are safe and are in free rein to do whatever within the compound, a lot of the kids ran off in all sorts of directions, often away from me. I can't blame them. My blonde hair does seem to have the tendency to turn people away, considering that I have my dad's dark eyes. I guess they've never seen such bright blonde hair before. And speaking of my hair, it has grown quite long over the years. Despite many protests from her, I had Mom trim them from time to time, but she often left it in a small bob surrounding my face. In any case, I ended up spending that morning alone with a picture book in my hands. Not that I have any problems with that, my mental age is at least of a 20-over adult after all, but I guess I was hoping for some company to talk to. Guess I'll be alone for the rest of my time here. Hi, at least that was what I thought until he shows up. The boy walks up to me with a bright grin on his face with dark brown hair and black eyes. I'm Deku. What your name? Jenko. Wanna play? And with that, Deku became my very first friend in life. We would hang out all the time, played all sorts of game, and even got into a sleepover at his house sometimes. It turns out that his parents died when he was born, and he is currently being cared for by his uncle, who is the landowner for a small apartment building a couple streets down from where my house is. He also has a making of a huge hero geek, considering all his shirts and pants has all sorts of homage to all the known heroes, with All Might being the most prominent of all. He even has action figures for all the top heroes, birthday gifts he got from the tenants of the apartment. We were inseparable from each other, where one goes the other will follow suit. Hell, we even found out what our quirks are at the same time. It was a really interesting story that was. It was my 4th birthday and the two of us are at his place that evening for a party with both our families celebrating, with some of the tenants participating as well. I was finishing my slice of cake while Deku is in his room getting his gift for me when I heard my mom's phone ringing. She has left her purse on the table when she went to the bathroom. I decided to help take it to her, so I went against her rules of not rummaging through her bag and fish out her phone for her. But the very moment I rushes off to deliver it, it happened. I suddenly speed forward and slams my head right onto a wall hard. The noise of the party just stopped as I sat on the floor and rubbed my sore forehead in pain. My dad immediately rushes to my side to check on me. Are you alright, Jenko-chan? Oi, that hurts. What happened? Deku's uncle, Narukumori, asked worriedly. I don't know. Mom's phone was ringing and I want to bring it to her, but then I ran really fast and Dad took the phone from my hands to check on it, before his brow scrunched up in confusion. Are you sure it was ringing? The battery is dead. But it was ringing. What's this about my phone? Mom walks up to us wiping her hands with a tissue. Honey, did you leave your phone uncharged before coming here? He asked her. She looked at him confused. No, it was fully charged when I got here and I haven't used it since the party started. Well, it's dead now. He raised the black screen of her phone for her to see. That can't. She turns to me slightly angry. Were you playing on it again? No, I wasn't. I cried out. I was just taking your phone out of your bag and then I ran really fast and slams into the wall and... Wait, you touched the phone then ran really fast? She asked. I nodded in reply. Reaching into her purse, Mom took out a button battery and placed it in my hand. Do you feel anything? The very moment the nickel dry cell touches my palm, something definitely was different. A slight tingly feeling floods my entire body from the tip of my toes to the crest of my head, as my body felt really energized and I reacted by running forward, in which my surroundings immediately changed into a blur before I felt my forehead impacting hard on the wall hard. I think I blacked out for a second as I collapsed on the ground confused as my parents immediately rushes to my aid, before sudden realization fills my mind with excitement. Could this be my quirk? I have a quirk. And apparently, I wasn't the only one, as the smell of smoke fills the room before a sudden cry caught all out that caught everyone's attention. Near the walkway, there stood Deku with a badly wrapped box raised high above his head while his legs are on fire. Like blazing flames are licking his bare feet. Of course, Kumori took action immediately and grabs him by the armpits and dunk his legs into the sink where he starts running tap water in hopes of putting the flames out, while a few tenants plus my dad tries to put out the small embers of flame left on the wooden floor where he once stood. Let's just say it took quite a long while before the fire died away and he got me his gift, which is a limited edition All Might plushie that was on set a couple of weeks ago that sold out for the very same day it is released. The very next day, we pretty much caused mayhem in the daycare center as we tries to experiment with our quirks that lead to a lot of unintended damages, and a very long lecture from the daycare's manager as well as from my mother on our way home. Most fun we ever had. But, like all good things eventually, it all came to an end suddenly one day when I turned 5. It was just another normal day for me and my best friend, playing and learning at the daycare, causing a bit of trouble with our quirks unintentionally via Deku accidentally ignites his feet when he sneezes. And then, it was evening and everyone left home with their parents except for me. I waited to almost dusk when Nemuri rushes up to me with a worried look on her face to my confusion. Usually it would be Mom or Tetsu who would fetch me from the daycare, sometimes Dad if he was lucky with his schedule, but Nemuri never came to fetch me herself before. "Nemuri-san, where's Mom?" I asked worriedly on our way home. "Jenko-chan, your mom." She swallowed a little before continuing. "Your father suffered a rather bad injury during work and is in the hospital for." "Hospital? That doesn't sound good. What happened to him?" "Why, his dad." I choked up from the tears that are threatening to spill as I tries to hold myself together. I keep forgetting that my body now is that of a 5-year-old kid. Self-restraint isn't visible at this age, but even with my adult body I probably wouldn't be able to hold back my tears either. My father, the man that raised me, is in the hospital for a bad injury that in all accords could be lethal. H is fine. My aunt assures me the best she could, probably. At any rate, you'll be staying with me tonight. We'll visit your dad first thing tomorrow morning, okay? Oh, okay. The very next morning, my entire life changed forever. When we went to visit Dad in the hospital, he isn't in the best of shapes. For starters, he is alive and well, which is huge relief, but, "I'm sorry, Tetsuya-san." The doctor tells Maki on his bed with a huge cast over his right leg, "but I'm afraid your hero career is over." As it turns out, whatever happened to my dad pretty much shattered his knee joint, ripping the ligaments to the point that it became unrepairable. He could still walk. A surgery to insert a metal joint in place of the shredded ligament was successful, but even with physical therapy, he probably wouldn't be able to walk as he used to, not to mention that he couldn't stress the metal joint with any rigorous work. All in all, it is end of the hero Hermes. The next few weeks were tense to say the least. Dad is placed on light duty as he works things out with his hero agency, but he always has this defeated look in his eyes, not the ones that he always had before. He keeps looking at the closet where his old uniform is kept, and sometimes he just surfs the television channels until he just tosses the remote away in anger. Dad is just not Dad anymore. He just lays about on the couch, occasionally on his bed, doing nothing. He lost the determined look, that hearty smile he always shows me. Now he rarely smiles anymore, just a lot of shouting from time to time. It got to a point where my mom and dad are constantly arguing every night, almost always about the same thing over and over and over again. They were so loud that I couldn't sleep at all, just laying on my bed covering my ears in hope of blocking it all out. I hate this. I hate them yelling. I hate him for shouting all the time. I want my dad back. I want him back. Deku knows something is wrong when his best friend returned to the daycare with a sulky face. Unlike the usual days of her running up to him with a big smile and a plan of mischief in mind, nowadays she just walked to a corner and sat down, hugging onto one of the plushies nearby. Ever since that fateful day, when Jenko was picked up late, she has been really quiet. She wouldn't go outside to play, only hide in a corner either hugging onto the plushie all quiet-like, or reading a picture book in silence. No matter how he tries to persuade her, she would not budge, often asking him to play without her. This isn't right. Jenko is supposed to laugh and run around with him, come up with new fun games to play with, not sit and read all day long. What she needs is some cheering up. And with Christmas Eve coming soon, he knows exactly what to do. My dad's sulking period lasted for several months. During that time, he is pretty much jobless since his forced retirement from the hero business after officially handed the reins to one of his sidekicks, and we are mostly running on our savings as well as on Mom's earnings from any court cases wins, which leads to her rarely able to stay at home anymore, to a point which she rarely came back at all. Tetsu seems to have started working part-time to try and support us the best he could, at least that is what I assumed is why he started working in the first place. Where he worked he did not mention, or I didn't catch it, leaving the house often empty and very quiet. At this point, I spent most of my nights at home with Dad alone, and he is becoming a very different man, less like the father I once knew and into a complete stranger. So much has changed so fast, and even with my speedy quirk I can't catch up. But then, all that changed one day when there's a surprise visitor to my home. It was a cold winter afternoon on the weekend, the day before Christmas Eve. Mama still hadn't returned home from work and Tetsu is working a shift at his part-time job, leaving me at home with Dad, again. I had planned to call Deku to come over to play, but his family seems to be really busy that day so he can't come. That left me to entertain myself in my room with a picture book with my beloved All Might plushie, as the living room is occupied by Dad and I just don't want to see him. I was busy reading a picture book when the doorbell rang a few times. It can't be Mom or Tetsu since they have the key, so it's either Narum, which is very unlikely considering that she has officially started her career as a hero last year, or as that door-to-door salesperson that patrolled this part of the neighborhood trying to sell us some kind of subscription of some sort. I, being the curious person that I am, decides to take a look as I peeked out into the living room to see who it is. Dad got up from the couch and with an aid of a walking stick, walks up to the door to look through the peephole for a second. He then backs off almost hesitantly before gingerly opening the door. There by the doorway stood an elderly-looking man with short graying hair and a business suit, who just stares at Dad before letting out a gruff, "What?" Not even a New Year's greeting. "W, what are you doing here, Dad?" Dad asked the man, much to my hushed surprise. "Dad, that's my grandfather. I didn't even know I have a grandfather. A father can't visit his own son." The elderly man asked with a sigh, "But honestly, I wanted to see if you are doing well. Your mother and I have seen the news, we know what happened." "I see. Aren't you going to invite me in? It's really chilly today and I have come quite a long way." My grandfather's eyes suddenly meet mine and I quickly hid behind the wall on reflex. "And who may that young lady be?" "Young Lady Jenko." Dad's voice calls me out as I flinched a little before swallowing my spit and walks out into their line of sight. "Morning, Dad." "Good day to you, sir." I greet him, gingerly bowing slightly as of the proper Japanese etiquette that was pounded right into me by Mom. She can be really persuasive with that shock quirk of hers. "Maki, is this polite little girl your daughter?" The elderly man asked curiously. "She's definitely grown a lot since I last saw her." "Huh, did he come here before?" I would have noticed an unusual old man in the house before. Then again, being a toddler does have some issues with memories sticking. "So, are you going to leave an old man out in the cold, or are you going to let me in?" After Dad invited him in, we are properly introduced. Turns out he is indeed my grandfather, one Takaya Tsubasa, and he stayed in Hasu City with my grandmother working at the local college as a lecturer of sorts. His primary topics are usually to do with history, mostly from the few decades since the very start of this era of the weird, as does some historian labeled the present. And it turns out he did come to visit a couple of times, once during my first birthday and another during New Year's when I was 2. He even shows off his quirk, named Screen View, where he is able to copy any picture and projects it onto any surface. He was telling me more about our family, like the fact that we apparently came from a line of scholars and astrologists that goes as far back as the Heian period. When Dad finally walked towards us balancing a tray with a few cups of tea with his spare hand as he limps his way onto the dining table. "I know you are particular about your tea, but instant is all we have around the house. Anything warm is good enough," Tsubasa stated, sipping the cup as I blow a bit before taking a sip and regretting it as the hot drink burns my tongue. He chuckles as he pets my head while I nurse my poor tongue before turning to my dad. "So, how's being a retired hero treating you?" "It's good, I suppose," Maki stated with a sigh. "I mean, no more late hours. I get to sleep the day away, not to mention not needing to be so worried about a public image anymore." Maki: "Yeah, it's not that great." My father conceded to Grandpa's glare. It's pissing me off." He slams his fist on the table, nearly knocking the cups over as I steadied my own cup the best I could. "I'm useless now. I don't have any other way to make a living besides being a hero, and it's waiting on our finances hard. Wait, that's why he's so sulky the past few months. All because he felt useless. That's a stupid thing to be angry about." Tsubasa sips his cup before stating out, "You could have called us, Maki. We were worried sick." I know. It's just," Maki groaned, rubbing his palm down his face. "I didn't want to be a burden to you guys too." "Maki, I would never consider you a burden." The elderly man tells him, "We have followed your exploits on TV, you know. I even boast to the neighbors sometimes. Nearly got called to the station for noise pollution too." He chuckles at the memory as I raised my eyebrow at his behavior. "But then we heard about the report on your injury and, well, once I found a free day in my schedule, here I am. It's the least I can do to ease your poor mother's heart little. Sorry to have you guys worry so much," he said before I saw his hand moving to his legs. "It was bad. I could walk, but I could not do hero work ever again. It's torture to stay in the sidelines like this. I know. You were always an adventurous child, almost caused me and your mother quite a few heart attacks with your actions." "He did?" I asked my grandfather curiously with a grin on my face. "Oh, the amount of blackmail I can get out of him. Oh yes, there's this one time where, whoa, no telling my kids my embarrassing past." Maki cried out in fear. "Haha, that's the job of a grandfather, is it not?" Tsubasa chuckles as he pats my head to my glee. "But back to the topic. I bet you are stuck at home without being able to do anything, correct?" "Don't need you to remind me of that." He groaned. "The past few months have been really bad. I was really bad. It's like me and Lisa are." Understatement of the year. He was always fighting with Mom over a lot of dumb shit, and Mom is kind of acting distant from him, from me and Tetsu too. I'm just hoping that they would work it out soon. I don't want our family to split up, especially because of such a stupid reason as self-loathing. "Well, I have a proposal for you." The elderly man tells my dad, "You see, I'm great friends with Principal Nezu of Yui, great guy he is, and he has been needing a few more teachers for the hero courses of late, especially ones who have experience in the field and been in it as long as you have. Are you suggesting that I become a teacher? At my old school, no less. Maki stated in surprise. That's rather sudden. I mean, I don't even have a teaching license. Well, you don't need one, just a certificate to make it official. Tsubasa tells him the hero course teachers are usually heroes who are previously on active duty before transferring to the desk job, or retired ones due to, certain situations. If you are willing to try, I can put out a word on your behalf. He's the one that sent you. My dad's eyes widen in realization. Guilty as charged, but to be fair, he sent his request once I'm on the train. Why would I'm not the teacher type? He cried out. What on God names would he think I would be suitable for that? He figured you will say that. Grandpa pulls out his phone and what I assumed to be speed dialing someone, so he specifically asked me to call him when I told you. He places the smartphone on the table in front of Maki, a few rings later before it is picked up and a really familiar voice spoke out. Tsubasa, I take it he didn't receive the news well. I let out a small squeal of excitement when I hear him talk. Oh my God, that's the exact same voice as the one in the actual anime. Not only that, it sounds a lot cuter. Yup, I take it that you are taking over. Of course. Nezu spoke out before a short cough later. Am I speaking to Tetsuya Maki right now? Yes, sir. Maki nodded with a bow. It's a pleasure to meet you, Principal Nezu. I have heard of great things from. No need for all of that. Let's just get to the point. The voice spoke as he continues. Maki-kun, you do not believe that you are worthy of dealing in an educator's role, am I right? Yes, sir. I honestly don't see how you think I am in the first place. My dad noted, I mean, even in my own agency I was hardly in a mentor role. I am not the teaching type. I beg to differ. Nezu stated as a rustling of paper can be heard from the phone I have with me right now is a few examples of your teaching suitability. Let's see here. Middle school, second year, teachers have reported of you helping most of your schoolmates in studies, often leading to an overall increase in that year's academic average. WL, that was just a one-time thing. Your previous affiliation, the Aizawa Hero Agency, you were always the one in Genium places in charge of training any new recruits to the agency, and they all performed better at their work even after they break off to create their own agency. You also seem to have tutored his sons a few times before. That was all them. I just helped them along. And your sidekicks. You may not be aware, but you have helped them in a lot of things. They have mentioned all those advices you gave out willingly several times before. Okay, those were just throwaway lines. I didn't even think about. That's the thing. Nezu interrupted. You never think about it too much and you understood what needed to be said the most. Whether it was harsh and cold, or comforting and warm, you always managed to help them out. If that aren't qualities of a good teacher, I don't know what is. But, sir, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Tsubasa looked down on me with a smile. Why don't we step aside for a moment? With that, we both left the dining table and went to living room to watch TV. Tsubasa stayed until late in the evening, just as Mom returned from work for the first time in weeks. She was as shocked as Dad when she saw Tsubasa sitting on the couch with me on his lap watching a game show on TV, sharing a large bag of potato chips that I wasn't allowed to eat before dinner. After a few pleasantries with a decline to stay for dinner, my grandfather left our house. Tetsu returned an hour later and for the first time in months, we are all eating at same table. How long has it been since Mom cooked dinner? It feels like forever since I've eaten her cooking. I miss this. Family should eat together after all. A minute of quiet eating with sounds of chopsticks and spoons. Dad places his chopsticks and half-eaten bowl of rice down onto the table. Lisa, he suddenly spoke up, getting our undivided attention. This is delicious. Dad, what is he doing? He took a deep breath in and out before speaking. I want to say I'm sorry. For all the times I've yelled at you. I was frustrated about everything. And I lashed out. I know that you hate me now, and that it doesn't mean much after this long, but I just want to say I'm sorry. Sorry for being a jerk, for being a terrible husband. Makun, Mom put down her chopsticks in surprise. I would never hate you. I'm your wife. I love you with all my heart. I wouldn't have married you otherwise. Lisa, thank you. Dad sighs a little before turning to face her, his eyes now having some glint of life in them again. I have an announcement to make. Announcement? About what? She asked curiously. I'm becoming a teacher in Yui. I never thought I could see a jaw drop too far down before tonight, and to witness a spit take firsthand as I got sprayed on the face by my brother who was drinking his miso soup when Dad sprung the news. You're becoming a teacher. Tetsu screams out in shock while I try to wipe away the soup from my face with my shirt. Why, this is so sudden. Mom stutters out before turning to my dad. Why the sudden career change? You know that Dad visited this afternoon, right? He points out, getting a nod in reply. Well, he came here on a request of Yui's headmaster, and he has asked me to join his board of teachers in Yui. Principal Nezu asked you. My brother shouted. Yes, and after some talking, I decided to accept his invitation. He explained, I have to go for a short course to get a certificate that he has applied for me, but once that is done, I'm an official teacher for Yui High. And you didn't come to discuss with us why. Tetsu, calm down. Mom tells my brother, who sheepishly sits down. Dear, you know you should have discussed it with us first. Yui is quite a distance from here, and you are in no condition for long-distance travel. The doctor has stated. I know what the doctor stated, Lisa. Dad stated with a sigh, but not to worry. I still my driver license, remember. I can just drive there, problem solved. But I need that car, Mackie. Mom points out, my office is in at least several stations away, so I can't just take the train, not to mention. The little debate went on for several minutes. Most of the dishes are almost room temperature because of it, so I decided to just finish my dinner and head back to my room. When tomorrow morning came, they have come to an agreement for them to share the vehicle until Dad is able to find another form of transportation that doesn't agitate his knee. And then, that morning on Christmas Eve, I got my biggest turning point in my life. It was just a normal day in the daycare. Mom drops me off before driving Dad to his class the next district over. Once I am ushered in, I decides to seek Deku out. I have been quite a grump the past few months, and I want to apologize to him for ignoring him. I have already come up with a cool game we could play that involves heroes. I call it Hero Freeze Tag. Deku, where are you? I called out, hoping to get an answer in return. But, with the exception of the other kids playing about, there is no reply. I run all over, looking in the sandbox, in the bushes, near the plushy mountain, but no sign of him. Maybe he's not here yet. That's strange. He usually reaches the daycare way before me. So, what gives? Jenko. As if answering all my questions, I hear his voice shouting across the room as he ran out from the balcony towards me with a large bundle of wrapping paper in his hands, the bundle half his height and size. Deku, I greeted with a smile as I run up to him with a hug, sorry for being a grump. Want to play? I've come up with this cool new game that can wait. Take a look at this. He grins as he puts the bundle down in front of me. Open it. I looked at him confused, his grins widening before I sheepishly opens the large bundle as carefully as possible. Once all the wrapping paper is mostly tear off, my eyes nearly widen in surprise at what is inside. Inside all that paper is a plushie, but not just any plushie. A plushie of Hermes in his full costume glory. From his hat to his boots, everything looks exactly like the hero my dad once was, all in its beautiful chibi style. Deku, this is. One of the tenants knows how to sew, so I ask her to help make this. He explained with a grin, took a little bargaining, but she just manages to finish it this morning. Do you like it? I am lost in words. The very symbol of my dad's old glory days is in my hands, of the best days before the accident. I couldn't do anything besides hug the thing with all the might I can muster, tears already leaking from my eyes. Why are you crying? I thought you'll be happy if. I am happy, Deku. I manages to smile. I love this so much. Thank you, Deku. Deku looks at me with a slight blush, before grinning back, no need. Cool plushie. A little commotion has attracted the other toddlers in the daycare towards us, where everyone is all staring at my gift. One after another, they all start asking about it and who it is, which I happily oblige with explaining it all. Then, one of them says, "He looks so cool." That phrase echoes in my mind a little. Yeah, Dad was really cool, wasn't he? He is my idol, the hero with coolest pose and sense of justice. People may see All Might as the greatest hero ever, but to me, Tatsuya Maki, the fast-wind hero, Hermes will always be the greatest. The image of him in his costume has always been a standard for me, but now he may never wear that suit again. And it hit me. I have a similar quirk, don't I? If Dad can't be a hero anymore, why not me? I'll cover for him. The hero Hermes will return with me. I'll become Dad's successor. With that, my goal is set. I'll become a hero, one that would make the name Hermes proud. I knock on the wooden door a few times as quickly as I could before stepping back. I bounced on the spot in excitement, anxiously waiting for the owner to open, which he did as good old Uncle Kimiri is standing there in his boxers and tank top with a toothbrush in his mouth. Morning, Kimiri Ajisen. Oh, hey, Jen-chan. He greeted with a small tired smile. You're early today. It's the entrance exam today. I tells him as I struggles to stand still from the anxiousness that is bubbling inside of me, and I want to make sure Deku doesn't be late for it. Like those time in junior high. No way I'm letting him miss this. Glad that he has you as his friend, Jen-chan. He chuckles, but your worries are unfounded. He's actually just finished breakfast when you came in. I'm the one just woke up. Oh, then is he ready to go? Still changing, I believe. Want to wait inside for him? Sure. Many years have passed since that faithful Christmas Eve, almost 10 years in fact. Time almost flew past me as I entered and graduated elementary school and is now in my final year in junior high. It's not that it was boring in them, quite the opposite in fact. Elementary school classes were a breeze for me, with my mind still one of an adult at this point in time, with exceptions in Japanese language and history. Can't make sense of the crazy amounts of their writing system at all. Why do we need 3 different writing systems for the same words? But I still managed to ace most of my classes regardless. Deku, on the other hand, has a little trouble. I wouldn't call him dumb. He got ace from time to time, but he definitely isn't the time to study earnestly. If anything, he is more of a social butterfly of a guy. He's the type of person who is always amongst a group, whether they are just his classmates or simple acquaintances. There's never a day in school where he isn't alone, with exceptions being very rare in between. It may have put a little strain on our friendship, but we are still stuck together like glue. Even in junior high, where it usually ends up being used in teenage dramas, which we never got involved in, thankfully. He is quite a popular one once he reaches, with a few girls who keep pestering me to put in a good word for them and even asked me about his preferences in women. Most of them I just tell them to just ask him out for once, which some actually did but was rejected by him. I continued to ace my classes as usual, which people often asking me for study groups and advice on their homework too, as I predicted as much. What I could not predict were the rumors about me and Deku, like we are dating since elementary, or that there's this love drama between us that is just waiting to be resolved. Most of them false, of course, but just the thought of them even suggesting such a thing between us just rubs me off the wrong way. Like, come on, do we even look like a couple at all? Speaking of looks, we both has grown quite a bit over the years. Puberty has hit me like a truck, as my figure has slowly started to fill in by the time I graduated elementary school. I'm not going to reveal my 3 sizes, but let's just say I've inherited more than my hair color from mom. I have to change bra sizes at least 10 times by the time I turn 15. And I'm still growing. My hair is still in its bob, but mom manages to convince me to keep it at least shoulder length. Most of my baby fat is gone now, leaving my face slightly angled. Deku too has grown quite a bit over the years. He's shooting past me in our 2nd year. He is now a good few inches taller than me, which still bugs me a little, and he has all lost his baby fat on his face. His voice deepened a little but not so much, and his hair is now in a more manageable bush on his head with spiky ends that made him look almost like a shonen manga protagonist. If he has whiskers on his cheeks, I would be calling me Naruto all day. I managed to finish my cup of tea that Kimiri has made for me when Deku bursts into the living room in his black school gakuran with a woolly jacket under his arm. Sorry to keep you waiting. About time, I stated excitedly as I places the cup back on the coffee table and picks up my backpack and dark red jacket. Come on. We won't want to keep Shinsu waiting. Bet he is already there by now. He commented as we put on our shoes, mine a pair blue and yellow slip-on sports shoe and him a couple of black sandals. Race you. You're on. We rush out the door, saying our farewells to Uncle Kimiri on our way out, before running out into the streets. If you are wondering why we are in such a rush today, it's because it's the day of the entrance exam for Yui High. A day which would seal our fates as future heroes to be. We have been working on our quirks in preparation for this day, coming up with new tricks and ways to use them as a hero. On weekends, we would train using them, under supervision of course. Aunt Nimiri was generous enough to lend us some of her time to watch over our training whenever she can't, and we even found a small abandoned lot to practice in too. I sure hope all those practices would pay off. It would be disappointing to work so hard only to fail in the end. Nervous? I asked Deku as we walked through the campus courtyard. Very. He nodded. Think we'll make the cut. Hope so. Same here. Well, you two would definitely made it in, with the quirks you have. We both turned to the 3rd member of our little circle of friends, one Hitoshi Shinsu. When I first met that purple-haired boy, it was during our 1st year in junior high. We are in the same class and he was my seat neighbor, but we rarely talked to each other. That was until one day when I lost my pen and he decided to lend me one of his. To repay him, I offered to treat him to some sweets after school, and we both hit off from there. Since then, he joins me and Deku whenever he could, and we became the best of friends ever since. However, he always seems to have a complex about his own quirk when compared to mine and Deku, and tends to bring that up every once in a while, for no real reason, despite what we have told him countless times over. Come on, Shinsu, don't bring that up again. I tell him as we slowed to a stop with me facing him and patting on his shoulder. I'm sure your quirk will be great for a hero. Besides, we don't know how the entrance exam is going to be. Deku assures him, for all we know, it could be one perfectly suited for a quirk like yours. Maybe. Move it, extras. I then sudden got violently shoved aside, I turning to retaliate at the guy. That dude who just rudely pushed is this blonde-haired teen whose hair is even out of control compared to Deku and even Shinsu's own bed hair, and a really bad scowl on his brows. You know, he looks really familiar. Where did I meet him before? Hey, you can't just do that. Deku shouted at him, who he proceeds to ignore as he continues to walk towards the campus. I'm talking to you, damn it. Apologize first. Just leave it, Deku. I tell him with a sigh, he's probably as nervous as we are. Damn rude-ass bastard. I hear him grumble as we enter the campus proper. Welcome to today's live performance. Everyone, say hey. I rubbed my ringing ears as the presenter of the exam, one present mic, announces his presence to the entire examinees in the auditorium and getting dead silence in response. I turn to Deku on my left, who too is digging into his ear, and we share a same look of sheer disbelief before turning back to the voice hero. This isn't something I was expecting after the written exam, especially before the practical exam. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the pro hero. Me and Deku, even Shinsu begrudgingly, follows on the blonde man's radio show now and then whenever we have free time, and enjoyed every minute of it. What we didn't expect is that loud personality is his actual personality. Well, that's cool, my listeners. He continues uninterrupted. I'm here to present the guidelines of the practical exam. Are you ready? YEH. I was not expecting this. Shinsu noted. Seconded. I nodded. Thirded. Deku agrees. This is how the test will go, my dear listeners. The blonde hero explains as the screen behind him lit up to show a simple diagram with 7 boxes labeled from A to G branching out from the large one. You all will be experiencing 10-minute-long mock sit escape maneuvers. Bring along whatever you want. After this presentation, you'll each head for the assigned testing location. Okay, I checked the card they passed to us after the written exam. I'm assigned to Area B. I nudge Deku and shows mine, pointing at the area on it. I'm a BU. What about you, Shinsu? G is quick reply before turning back to face the front. Damn, so none of us are in the same area. I was looking forward for some combo action with Deku. Guess I'll have to go solo on this one. The screen behind present mic changes again to, wait, is that Super Mario Bros? Do they even have the copyright to do that? Each site is filled with 3 kinds of faux villains. Points are rewarded for defeating each one according to their difficulty levels. Use your quirks to disable these faux villains and earn points. It's as simple as that. By the by, playing anti-hero and attacking a fellow examinee is a big no-no. May I ask a question? One of the examinees on one of the bottom rows stood up with arm raised. Present mic gestures him to continue, which he did rather loudly. In the handouts we are given, there are 4 types of villains, not 3. Such a blatant error, if it is one, is highly unbecoming for Yui. We're all here today in the hopes of being molded into model heroes. And you, the one with the curly hair. He points at the student the row below me. You've been muttering this whole time. It is distracting. If you think this is some kind of game, then please leave at once. Why yes, sorry. He apologized as a few students next to him snickers at his predicament. I pity the poor dude, he looks like kicked puppy now. I've heard of super serious model students, but he takes the cake. Deku commented. But now that I notice him, he looks strikingly familiar. Like I'm supposed to know who. He is but is coming up blank. Alright, settle down. Nice catch there, examinee 7111. Present mic noted, you see, the 4th variety isn't worth a single point. He's more of an obstacle you have to work around. Ever played that retro game, Super Mario? It's like a thwomp. There's one at each site, a gimmick that will rampage around in closed quarters. Thank you, sir. The stiff student bowed, sorry for the interruption. Okay, I think I know the main strategy here. Find villains, destroy it, avoid the 0-pointer, rinse and repeat till time runs out. Simple enough. That's all from me. I'll leave my listeners with our school motto. The blonde hero calls out. The great hero Napoleon Bonaparte once said, go beyond, plus ultra. Break a leg, everyone. As the students are ushered out of the auditorium, I turn to Deku, then Shinsu, and with a smile raises both my thumbs up. Wish you all luck. Likewise. My childhood friend smirks with a thumbs up in return. Shinsu nodded. After a change of clothes and a bus ride later, I stood in front of the large gate in my gray shirt and navy track pants. I stared at my fellow examinees, noting the extremely varied of people to the slightly unique to the crazily over the top. A large one with 3 pair of arms caught my attention rather quickly too, but not just because he has 3 pair of arms. He looks really familiar. Man, I'm getting such feelings from all over the place today. The mumbling crowd starts to talk about themselves while pointing at this one guy, the same guy that is being lectured by the super serious guy. Poor dude, that will do your nerves no good. NND, start. Wait, what? What's wrong? Present Mike's voice echoes in our ears. The test has already started. Run. That caught my attention as I quickly dig into my pocket and took out a button battery, clenching it tightly as I feel the electricity flow through my body. And just as the other examinees start to react, I rocket past all of them and into the simulated city before they even start running. Passing a few blocks, I turn a corner just as what I assumed is a 1-pointer robot, what is basically a 1-wheeled Zaku-looking thing with a large metal claw on one arm while the other wields what seems to be a tank barrel. Its camera swerves to face me, its firearm arm aimed straight me and fired. Thankfully, I still have enough charge to dodge the explosive shell easily before slipping close to it and press my 2 hands on it. Instantly I felt the additional electricity flow into me and the robot falls limp and dropped onto the concrete floor, motionless. Man, this test is perfect for my quirk. You see, my quirk is nicknamed Elect Muscle. I have the ability to absorb electricity, as long my whole hand is touching the electrical source. It doesn't have to be an open wire or a battery, as long as it is something that runs of electricity, I can absorb just by touching it. It is a bit of a pain to live with, considering that I might accidentally drain my phone's battery every time I touches it, but I've figured a way around it. Once I have a charge, I can use that power to speed my body's movements up to 100 miles an hour. Not as fast as Dad's Mach 1, but plenty fast. Back to the test. After getting a recharge and a boost from the robot, I turned just in time to saw another of its buddy charging towards me with a few more of its comrades behind. This time several 2-pointers and a large 3-pointer tank-looking thing. Thinking fast, pun fully intended, I pick out a path and with a quick dash and a few leaps and hops, I am able to suck all of their charge before landing on the large tank and starts draining the sucker dry. That is of course interrupted when I just notice a 1-pointer coming right towards me with its metal claw out to tear into me. I was about to move out of the way when I hear something. is that engine noises. Just as I thought that super serious guy lands a flying kick right into the robot with his engine-propelled foot, smashing it into pieces. I starts to feel my draining trickle down and I leaped off the tank as it sputters and ceased moving. Thanks for the assist. I call out to him. He simply nodded before running off, the trail of smoke in his wake. I leap right back into the test, mentally calculating my total points to at least 15, running down the simulated streets to find more bots. I soon reach a crossing where a few robots are dueling against the other examinees, one of whom has not noticed a three-pointer is about to drop onto him. Without thinking too much, I charge right at him, tackling him out of the way just as the tank crashes down right where he was standing. We both stare at the fallen robot for a brief moment. Before we got up, the guy turns to me with a sharp-toothed grin. Thanks. Didn't saw that. Don't mention it. Good luck with the test. With those last words, I dash away and leap onto one of the 2 pointers to start sucking the electricity out of it. It must have been more than 5 minutes since the start of the exam, and I have taken out at least 10 more robots by then, bringing my points up to at least 32 by now. I barely able to dodge a barrage of what I hoped are rubber bullets from a 1-pointer's minigun, which I then lunge towards and swings a kick right at its head, breaking the camera off of it. I then grab the wires that are sticking out and feels the increased charge flowing into my body. Just as I finishes draining the robot, I felt the ground shake. Turning around, I strain my neck to look up as a Titan-looking robot has emerged out of nowhere and starts wrecking the buildings and streets it comes into contact with. Wait, that thing matches the silhouette of the 0-point robot from the handouts. That's the obstacle we have to avoid. Snapping myself out of the trance when I felt the shockwave of its attack against the street, I let go of the wires and book it. As much as fighting a giant robot seems fun on TV, dealing with one the size of skyscraper is not worth dying to try. And then, when I was a good distance away, I heard a loud bang, one like when a hammer slams into a metal plate. I turn around, just to see the 0-pointer slowly falling back with a large dent in its square face as explosions erupted from all over its body. In the distance, right in the air where the Titan's head used to be is this one person. The very same person that was muttering and shaking in the beginning. Are you kidding me? That nervous wreck was that kind of powerhouse. I was left in awe of the spectacle, before I notices something wrong. That guy is falling, and he is not stopping himself. Not good. I dashes right towards the falling robot, his silhouette falling down by the minute as I using most of my charge to try and make it to him. Just as he is about 3 meters from becoming a splat on the pavement, I prepared myself to leap right at him and catching him mid-fall. That is when I saw a floating metal robot head getting close to him. The person riding the robot head reaches out her hand and slaps him across the cheek. He then stops falling immediately, floating safely above the pavement as his savior closes her fingers together muttering out our release. And they both crashes back down onto the pavement. I skid to a stop in front of the scene, just as the girl starts puking out her entire stomach by how much she is releasing out. That boy is laying the ground, both legs completely broken and bending the wrong ways and his right arm completely bruised and bloody. Those doesn't seem to be caused by his fall. Is it his quirk? Did he broke his body from just doing all of that? He, to my surprise, starts to move, dragging himself forward with his only functioning arm with tears and snot dripping all over. Dude, he's not passed out yet. Hey, and it's over. President Mike's announcement echoes in our ears, and the broken kid stopped moving, his eyes just diluted in despair before finally passing out onto the pavement. A few more minutes passed and most of the other examinees finally came to take a look at him. Murmurs all around as they all discuss who that guy is and how someone with a quirk as crazy strong as his is such a nervous wreck. I stay close to him, giving him a one-over to see if he is fine. Please stand aside, dear. I turn to look. An elderly woman in Dr. Coat over a hero-like outfit walks up to us. Guessing that she is the medical staff, I stood aside to allow her to do her work. What I did not expect her to do is pucker up her lips and land a kiss right on his cheek. Whatever she did, it has a great effect as I saw the dude's legs slowly straight back into proper position and his arm slowly losing its bruises. A healing quirk. That is plenty helpful. Once we all are checked out, we are brought back to campus where we are debriefed and then dismissed. 1 week has passed since the end of the entrance exam. Right now, Deku and Shinsu are chilling at my room with me watching a movie while we wait for the news to drop. My room has changed quite a bit since I was a toddler. Once I entered elementary school, my crib is replaced with a nice bed where I've stored my plushies I have received as birthday presents over the years. The walls are repainted and are now a bright bluish green and several bookshelves lined up against the wall filled to the brim with textbooks and reference books about it and engineering which I may have nicked from Tetsu's room over the years. What is most prominent is the single shelf that is separated from the others. This one, closest to my bed, is filled with not just manga, but Western comics of all sorts. DC, Marvel, you named it. You would not believe how hard it is to find superhero comics these days, let alone get them. Not to mention that the two biggest giants of the industry actually closed their doors years before I was born. I pity the kids of my generation who would never have the pleasure of knowing about the Amazing Spider-Man. Enough about my room, back to the matter at hand, which is us enjoying a movie on my laptop. Or at least we are trying to, but the nerves are always there. Deku's slightly shifting feet to Shinsu's glancing at my door. We are all anxious of our results. I'm even holding on to my All Might plushie while chewing down on my pokey sticks. Cleanliness be damned, nerves take priority. How about a different movie? Deku suggested. Sure, I'm getting bored with this one, anyways, Shinsu stated as I opened my file of downloaded movies. Let's see. We haven't watched. Click I'm home. Within a split second, I toss my plushie and the remaining packet of Poke on my bed and dashes out, tripping over Deku and Shinsu as we tries to get out of the tangle of legs we trapped ourselves into before we finally unravel our bundle and dashes out of the room to the living room, where Dad stood with 3 letters in his free hand. I basically snatches them out of his hands. His sigh and grumbling about nerves and teen are ignored as I distribute them among us. We look at each other, before with a deep breath, we tore our letters open. Out dropped 3 hologram projector that we barely caught before it can fall to the floor. So, who wants to go first? Shinsu asked. I and Deku look at each other, and with a quick match of rock, paper, scissors, he is the first to check. Pressing the button, a screen pops out and on it is a small mouse bear thing in a well-dressed suit. He then, with a bright smile, began to speak. Greetings. I'm Principal Nezu of Yuyui. It's my honor and pleasure to announce to you, Naru Deku, that you pass. Well done. You have shown great value as a potential hero, one that my school is eager to nurture. Welcome to Yuyui's Hero Course Class 1B. I will see you in the new semester. With that, the hologram turns off, and in its place Deku let out a loud cheer of happiness with me joining in with a hug tackle. He's in. Deku got in. Congrats, Deku-kun. Dad tells him, but mind not setting my carpet on fire. Again. He paused before looking down. His feet starts to have embers dancing about and a smoke is starting to form where he stood. A quick pat down and wet cloth later, we all, including Dad, moved to the dining room to read the rest. Next up is mine. I swallowed a spit and pressed down on the button. A similar video started to play. It's the pretty much same thing as Deku's, but instead of 1B, it's 1A. But either way, I got in 2. I let out a woo and cheer as I bounce about the room in happiness. Yes, finally, my starting line is here. All that is left is Shinsu's. We are waiting nervously as he presses the button. The video played but, greetings, Hitoshi Shinsu. Nezu says, but instead of a bright smile, his face is grim. I'm sorry to say this, but you have failed the exam. I know it is hard to accept, but reassure, there will be chances for you to become a hero too. With much discussion among our staff, we have agreed to enroll you in the general course. There will be chances to enter the hero course as long as you work hard and never stop improving. See you in the new semester. The video cuts off there. We both look at Shinsu, who looks like he has his hopes dashed. All of a sudden, our own joy is completely overwritten with sadness. How can we be happy with our passing when Shinsu fail? This is not fair. All that work he has put into this, all of that, and he is rejected. You got to kidding me. Deku suddenly shouts out angrily, there must have been some kind of mistake. Maki-san, you're a teacher there, right? Tenyu, it's fine. Hearing those words from the last person I expected, I am stunned silent as Shinsu got off the chair. The practical is difficult for me in the first place. I hardly got much points, so this result is expected. But, Shinsu, my childhood friend cried out, you've trained so hard. Aren't you at least a little upset over this? No, I've expected this. He noted, but that doesn't mean I'm done, either. I blinked, before remembering what the principal has said. You mean. The principal stated that there are chances to get into the hero course besides the entrance exam, right? Shinsu explained, so I'll keep on working hard and find that chance. Shinsu, I mutter out in surprise. Talk about dedication, he's not giving up his dream despite this. That's what I thought you'll say. Dad smiled. It's not really common knowledge, but there were instances of people from other courses joining the hero course midway through the year. Of course, the reverse is true as well. Then, there's a chance for Shinsu to join us. I stated with a smile. Yes, there's still hope for him yet, but those instances are pretty rare. He elaborated, chances of getting into the course itself is 1 to 300. Transferring is even more difficult to even happen. But, I have faith in you, Hitoshi-kun. He turns to Shinsu with a thumbs up. It may be bias, but I can see potential hero you can become. Like Principal Nezu said, keep working hard and the window will open for you. Our spirits are lifted when he says that. We all turn into each other with a smile and Shinsu gives me a grin of his own. Just you wait. I'll make it into the hero course soon enough. Deku smirks. Well, you better hurry it up. In the time you enter, we'll be waiting further up ahead. And with that, we all place our fists forward towards each other. Even though it is silent, I'm sure that we are all declaring the same thing in our hearts. That we all will become heroes for sure. 3 weeks pass by in a flash. From ordering the textbooks to getting measurements for uniforms, my last winter break as a junior high student passes by so quickly that I didn't really get time to enjoy it at all. Not to mention the entire registering of Quirk and emailing designs for my hero costume. There was so much to do before school starts that before I know it, it is already the last week of March and my first day as a Yuyui student is right around the corner. And it is on this eve of my high school career that I am currently at the rooftop of the Kimuri's apartment with Deku and Shinsu, along with several of the tenants holding a large barbecue party to celebrate. once again, to Tai-chan's and Gen-chan's acceptance. Cheers. All the adults raise their cups of alcohol and cheers. The three of us kids raise our cups of soda and juices in celebration as well. Thank God we weren't given alcohol, even by accident. My school life would be ruined if I have to go to my first day hungover. The entire party is completely bustling, from Kimuri's handling of the grill to some of the tenants talking up a storm and just having a merry good time. I chewed on my second plate of grilled beef as I watch as the adults all dancing about like madmen. They just want an excuse to party, huh? Shinsu points out, me and Deku nodding in agreement. Say, have any of you guys finished dealing with the papers and whatnot? I asked after swallowing my beef I just finished yesterday. Same here. Deku nodded with a sigh. I never thought attending a hero school will have so many paperwork. I accidentally mailed my quirk particulars twice. I got it finished last week. Shinsu explained, the general course didn't have much to send, after all. Damn, you are lucky. Really? And no, that's not what I meant. He quickly caught himself, but the damage is already done. It's fine. I know you didn't mean it. Shinsu noted. Shinsu, I felt sorry for him. He has worked as hard as we did and yet didn't even make the cut. But in the end, his quirk is completely different than ours. Nervous about your first day, you guys. A voice calls out. A young man walks up to us with a plate at hand. Oh, Budo-san. This man is Budo Jitsu. He is one of the tenants of Kimuri's apartment, an ex-MMA fighter turned police detective. He is also our trainer of sorts. Back when he first moved here, both me and Deku begged him to teach us once we found out he used to be one hell of an MMA fighter. With our persistence and a little help from our parents, he accepted us as his students. Once Shinsu is part of our group, he too became a student as well. Budo has taught us all sorts of moves, from all sorts of styles too. Capoeira, Judo, Taekwondo, Muay Thai, even good old-fashioned boxing. He taught us a plethora of moves that we could use. I've heard, he stated as he pulls a chair to sit next to us, you did your best, Shinsu. No need to get too upset. I'm not really upset, though. Your eyebrow did the furrow thing whenever you are upset. I pointed out. Really? Well, enough depressing stuff. Budo declares before facing me and Deku, nervous about tomorrow. I wasn't until you pointed out. Deku stated shakily, but a little excited too. To think, from tomorrow onwards, we all be future heroes in training. Yup, our first step, I added with a smile. Glad you guys are dealing with it well. Budo chuckles, you guys have no idea how proud I am of you guys. You all have come so far from those little kids that pester me all those years ago. We couldn't have made it if weren't for you, Budo-san. I stated, we might have never got to make it into Yui without your guidance. Always the sweet talker, Jenko-chan. He noted with a grin as he raises his cup to face us, to great future heroes. Damn straight, Deku exclaims as we all slam our plastic cups together. I stood right in front of the massive door that leads to my classroom. The impressive structure struck out to me more like a large metal gate than a door. Deku and Shinsu have left ahead to their respective classes, leaving me in front of my own class alone. Talk about intimidating. I mutter worriedly, feeling my backpack getting heavier by the second. Come on, Jenko, keep it together. You are a Yui student now. You can't let a big door scare you. I took in a deep breath, patting down on my skirt before sliding the door open. For a door that big, it's surprisingly light. The classroom isn't empty as I thought it might be. There are at least 7 students already inside, one of which is the same guy that bumped into me back then who is sitting at one of the desks with his feet resting on the table. Besides him, there is a guy with spiky red hair and sharp teeth who looks really familiar, a girl with pink skin and hair with 2 horns sticking out, a boy who has a literal bird head, a girl with black hair that has 2 fleshy earphone jacks trailing from her ears, a blonde guy with a black streak and a floating female uniform. The opening of the door seems to have attracted their attention, their eyes trailing towards me. Hey, is that girl's pupils black? Oh, morning. I greeted as I went to check my seating arrangement. It looks like I'm the second seat from the 3rd column. Seating next to one Hagakure Toru, I'm Tetsuya Jenko. Pleased to meet you. Morning, I'm Hagakure Toru. The floating uniform greeted, I'm your desk buddy. Nice to meet you too. Hey, invisibility. Always knew there would be someone with that quirk. I noted to my surprise as I sat down next to her. Quick question, are you invisible to yourself too or just other people? Asked the same question just now. The girl with the earphone jacks tells me, says it was a secret. Because it is. Well, I got my answer I guess. I nodded, what's your name? Kyoka Jiro. I'm Kaminari Denki, by the way. The blonde guy speaks up. Mina Shido. Nice to meet you. The pink girl noted. Takoyami Fumikage the bird head stated. Tirashimai Jiro. The redhead tells me before pointing to the blonde rude guy. He's Bakugo Katsuki, by the way. TCH. Well, aren't he a ball of sunshine? And again, that name sounds really familiar. Do I know him from somewhere? After our little introduction, more students start to flow in. I manages to learn who most of them are. There's Yairazu Momo, the tall girl with long black hair tied in a ponytail. Kuda Kuji, the dude that looks like a dinosaur with an almost puppy-like expression. Sadu Rikadu, the guy with big lips and rather jacked body. Wejiro Mashuro, the third blonde guy with a large tail, Zero Hanta, the black-haired dude with what seems to be tape dispenser on his elbows, Aizawa, the fourth blonde guy that seems to like posing like a model for some reason, Tsuyu, the girl with long black hair and frog-like appearance, Todoroki Shadow, the guy with a hair split down the middle of one side red and the other white with a nasty burn scar on his left eye, and one Shoji Mezu, this huge giant of a teenager with a mask covering his face and 3 large arms that looks oddly familiar. Oh yeah, he is that super bulky guy I saw in the entrance exam. And then the latest one to come in, the super serious guy from the entrance exam who walked in almost robot-like. Once he has placed his bag on his desk, he immediately marches over to Bakugo and starts lecturing him. "Remove your foot from that desk," he shouted. "Such an action is insulting to our seniors who left, and the craftsmen who made these chairs. Like a care." The rude, almost delinquent-looking student laughed almost insultingly towards him. "What school are you from that teach you that?" So, he pretty much calls everyone that. Talk about an ego. I'm from Sumi Private Academy. I'm Ida Tenya. Ida, where did I heard that name somewhere before? Sumi, you're one of those stuck-up elitist types, huh? He laughed, slouching forward. Looks like it'll be fun blowing you to bits. Be blow to bits. Such cruel words. Ida flinched in shock. Do you really wish to become a hero? Fuck off. Their attention then turned to the door, where it is slightly open with a short dark green hair with freckles whose face turns even paler when he notices our gaze towards him. Hold on, isn't it the kid that blew away? Why, the giant robot with one punch? So, he got in too. Ida then proceeds to walk up to the poor shaking boy and starts to introduce himself to him. I managed to catch his name in their conversation, Midoriya Izuku. Okay, his name sounds really familiar. Where did I heard it from? Deku. I hear Bakugo growls with pure disgust, one that seems to indicate a history between the two. Despite all that, what I am really paying attention is his name for the poor boy. Deku. I'm sure that it has something to do with wordplay. Japanese are infamous for that. But there's something that is tugging on the back of my mind that it is more than that the name is playing a bigger play that. Seriously, what is with these names poking at my head lately? If you're here to socialize, then get out. I am broken out of my musing when I heard a voice called out from the corridor. My attention turned back to the classroom's entrance where both Ida and Midoriya, along with a new girl, who looks like the one that saved him back during the exam, are looking out before a figure seems to rise up from the floor, a yellow cocoon of sorts standing up as the three of them backed into the classroom. From that yellow cocoon, oh wait, that's a sleeping bag, a tall man with long unkempt hair and bloodshot eyes got out wearing a black jumper with what seems to be an extremely long scarf wrapped around his neck. It took 8 seconds for you to quiet down. Time is a precious resource. You lot aren't a very rational lot, are you? He commented. I'm your homeroom teacher, Aizawa Shada. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Homeroom teacher was in my mind, just as it is in most of my other classmates. This guy is our homeroom teacher. He doesn't even look like a pro hero, let alone a teacher. With that being said, he reaches into his sleeping bag and pulls out the standard-issued UE gym uniform. Change into your gym clothes and head out to the grounds. Huh, gym class on the first day. This is odd. A quirk assessment test. We all loudly exclaimed once we changed to our gym uniforms and meet out in the track field. Once we all have gathered, we were told by Aizawa about this sudden test, much to our surprise. What about the opening ceremony? The new girl, named Uraraka Achako, asked, or orientation. No time to waste on that stuff if you want to become heroes. He explained, UE is known for its freestyle education system. That applies to us teachers too. Wait, ignoring our disbelief, our teacher carries on, softball throwing, standing long jump, 50 meters dash, endurance running, grip strength, side hopping, upper body training, seated toe touch. You all did these in junior high, yes. Your standard no quirks gym tests. This country still insists on prohibiting quirks when calculating the averages of those records. It's not rational. The Department of Education is just procrastinating. Bakugo. He tosses a softball with a metal band wrapped around it to said student. How far could you throw in junior high? 67 meters. Great. Now try it with your quirk. He stated, do whatever you need to. Just don't leave the circle. Just give it all you've got. Okay. Bakugo walks up to the circle, stretching his arms for a moment before winding up and with a loud die. He sends the ball flying with an explosion. The smoke dissipates a few seconds later just as the ball lands a good distance away. It's important for us to know our limits. Our teacher explained as he shows us the distance on his device. That's the first rational step to figuring out what kind of heroes you'll be. Whoa, this is awesome. 705 meters. Seriously. So, we can use our quirks for real. Man, the hero course is great. All our classmates start chattering in excitement over the notion of using our quirks as freely as we can, me included. This is the first time I get to use my quirk as freely as this without getting lectured by a teacher or police officer. This is going to be sweet. Awesome, you say. Aizawa suddenly noted as his tone turns grim. You're hoping to become heroes in 3 years, and you think it'll be all fun and games. Why do I have a bad feeling I'm not going to like where this is going? Alright, the one with the lowest score across all 8 events will be judged as hopeless and expelled. WWHHHATTT. Why you can't do that? Uraraka exclaims. Oh, I can. Our teacher stated with a rather creepy grin, your fates are in our hands. So, allow me to officially welcome you all to Yuyui's hero course. The first event is 50 meters dash with the first up being Ada Tenya and Tsuyu Asui. Ada manages to clear it rather fast with just barely over 3 seconds flat, Tsuyu finishing 2 seconds later. His quirk has rather advantages for this test, being a speed-based quirk of 2-engine exhaust pipes sticking out of his calves. Tsuyu's quirk is very obvious, with her frog-like features and such. She literally frog-hop her way across the finishing line, which I think is really adorable. A cute frog girl. Now that's a concept that hasn't been touched before until now. Next up is Uraraka Achako, who just ran normally, and Ajiro Mashiro, who used his enough tail to leap long distances all the way to the end. Got to say, that is one tail I wouldn't want to be at the end of. With its size, I wouldn't be surprised if it could tip over a car if he wanted to. Love the fluffy end, though. After them is Aoyama Yuga and Mina Shido. The blonde fellow is probably the first one to be creative with his own quirk, which is to shot out a laser beam from his navel that he uses to propel himself forward using Newton's third law of physics. Although he did stumble for a moment near the end, which allowed the pink girl to pass him with her slippery liquid quirk. Next is Midoriya and Bakugo, and boy that Bakugo. From the start, it is obvious his quirk is explosions from his palms which he uses to boost himself forward like a rocket. And I thought Aoyama's idea is creative. This guy's quirk is made specifically for such use. Although if I were to compare him to Deku would probably be the better of the two. Midoriya, on the other hand, seems to just run normally instead of using his insane quirk from the entrance exam. That is to be expected, with how dangerous it is to himself. Just one use and his limbs are broken. Talk about an unbalanced quirk. Next up, Tetsuya and Takoyami. Aizawa's voice brought me out of my musings. I immediately make my way to the starting point and takes out a battery from my pocket. I clutched it tightly in my hand, its electricity filling my body. A quick glance to my left to see the bird-headed guy in a ready position with a dark shadowy figure trailing out of him. So that's his quirk. Neat looking, it's like a stand. Ready. I bounced a bit before leaning forward a little with my right leg back and left leg forward. Go. And I kick back hard and rockets forward. I barely manages to catch the glimpse of the recording bot that I know I finished and skids to a stop a good distance away from the finishing line. 1.05 seconds. Whoa, no way, that's fast. And I thought that glasses dude is quick. I ignore their chattering as I pump my fist in the air. Yes, new record. All those acceleration practice sensation with dad really paid off. The timer behind me beeped as the birdman passes the finish line, signaling at about 7 seconds. A few more other students ran the test, Todoroki having one hell of a quirk in which he literally propels himself forward by unleashing a barrage of ice behind him on his right side which nearly froze the guy next to him. And we turn our attention to the next few tests. Grip strength wasn't my best attribute. It took me using both hands to open a pickle jar when it is held in place by another person. Even then it took at least an entire minute of trying to even move the lid. And considering my quirk has nothing to do with actual strength, it does little to nothing to help with it. And such, when we are tasked with measuring our grip strength, I'm not surprised when mine is recorded at about 35 kilograms. Same with standing long jump, which I just tumble into the sandbox a couple of feet from the jumping point. Now side hopping, that's something I'm pretty good at. I think the counter machine actually malfunctioned a little when I just start hopping from one spot to another and again at increasing speeds until my max speed which I maintained for the entire test. Right now, we are at the softball throwing, which Bakugo excel yet again with another explosion-aided throw, but Uraraka really go beyond with her quirk which I guess must make things float as she tosses the softball. It just keeps going and going, and going, and going, and going, till it is no longer in our sights, and the reading on Aizawa's device literally turn up an infinity loop to our surprise. I mean, is infinity even considered a number? Next is Midoriya, who is getting paler as the tests went. From the 50 meters dash onwards, he started to look like he is lagging way behind the rest of us. All those times, I was kind of hoping for another moment of his insane quirk to in motion, but he didn't even try to use it at all. Midoriya-kun isn't doing very well, Ida pointed out. Well, duh. Bakugo scoffs, he's just a quirkless runt. Wait, quirkless. Wait, what are you talking about? I asked curiously, he has a quirk. Huh, what, are your ears blocked or something? I said he's quirkless. That can't be right. He pummeled that Titan robot with one hit. There's no way he is quirkless if he can do that. He must be mistaken about the whole thing, or that he's just so full of himself that he doesn't even notice anything that involves himself. I turn my attention back to Midoriya, who is up in the circle as he winds up to throw his ball. And with a mighty heave, he tosses the ball forward, which only lands a few meters away from him much to his shock. But I was trying to use it. I've erased your quirk, Aizawa noted, his hair now all raised up to more reveal his red-shot eyes, but now his eyes are glowing red and the scarf is unraveled a bit to reveal a pair of yellow-barred goggles underneath. That ridiculous entrance exam. Completely irrational when you consider someone like you got in. Erased. Wait, those goggles. Of course, Midoriya seems to have realized he's the erasure hero, Eraserhead. Eraser ... what? I think I've heard his name before. He's an angler-type hero, a racerhead. I think Deku mentioned him before. A hero akin to Batman, someone who operates from the shadows and almost never make an appearance in any mass media. He is well known for his quirk to erase other quirks, which is extremely rare even in our quirk-filled society of today. What's someone like him teaching in Yui? I've saw it, of how you can't control your quirk at all. You'd just be incapacitated again. Were you hoping someone would step in to help afterwards? And no, it's not like that. He doesn't let Midoriya finish as he wraps his scarf around him and pulls him close. From there, he starts talking to him in a quieter but certainly sterner tone. After a few more words, he closes his eyes, letting his hair fall back down and let him go. Slumbering back to the circle, Midoriya seems to be muttering something to himself, looking a little downcast. Whatever Aizawa said, it must have hit him hard with something. A few more seconds later, he winds his arms back and leaned forward for a heavy throw. And throw he did, and this time the ball is sent flying off into the distance in the same manner as Bakugo's. I hear our teacher's device beep for a moment as Midoriya turns back to face him, clutching his right hand into a fist which now have a bloodied index finger. And with a teary smile with his mouth and a wince he proclaims, "Sensei, I can still move." No way. Did he use his finger? With one finger, he sent that ball packing. What a powerful quirk that is. A strength booster of sorts. Regardless, that is so clever. Instead of sacrificing an entire arm, he uses his finger. Double-edged that quirk may be, he manages to find a solution to it that doesn't involve breaking his limbs, and within that moment too. I don't know about what Bakugo is talking about, that is a quirk. And just as I was thinking that, I heard an explosion next to me and the very person I was thinking about rockets towards Midoriya screaming, "What the hell? Explain yourself, DKU." But before he can get any closer, Aizawa's scarf wraps about him tightly, stopping and securing him in place. What the? This cloth. It's stiff. It's a capture weapon made of carbon fibers and a special alloy wire. He tells the explosive kid, "Geez, stop using your quirk already. I'm getting dry eye over here." What a waste, considering his quirk is so awesome, is what everyone and me are thinking in response on his statement. Bakugo puts his hands down as Aizawa unravels his scarf while his hair floats back down. What a waste of time. Next up, Tetsuya. I obediently walk up to the circle, taking care to detour an arm distance around Mr. Anger Issue, and picks up the softball that somehow made its way back here. I'm not even going to question it. I took a stance, one hand held the ball while the other holds a battery to charge me up, raise a knee and starts to spin myself. What the hell? Is that even allowed? Look at her go. Got to thank Mom for signing me up for that ballet class in my 3rd grade. One more turn and I swings my arm forward, tossing the softball and letting the momentum speed it forward. But unfortunately, I've timed my swing wrongly and ended up tossing the ball right towards my classmates, which ended up slamming into Aoyama's groin, knocking him down to his knees, clutching his bruised. Sorry. Watch your aim, Tetsuya. Aizawa tells me. I can feel his glare on my back as I let out a nervous giggle. My bad. That one will count, by the way. Seriously. Damn it, got to time it right this time. Thankfully, the next time I've timed it right and sends the ball flying down the field, earning me a record of 700.9 meters. The last events are so much simpler than the first half. The seated toe touch was no trouble with my ballet-trained flexibility, which allows me to bend till my boobs touches my knees, and upper body training is just your standard cardio training, push-ups, pull-ups, the works. The final one, endurance running, is definitely made for me and Ida. The moment the entire event started, I was able to use the last charge in my battery to speed through the entire thing and finish the whole thing in about 4 minutes. I've even lapped poor Ida a few times, he finishing a good 2 minutes after me. I think he might be a little salty from me running backwards when I passed him on my last lap. When the last person finishes their lap, Hagakure was panting when she passes the finishing line. We all are gathered around our homeroom teacher anxiously waiting for our results. Your total scores simply reflect your performances in each of the events. Explaining the process will be a pain in the ass, so all you get are the final rankings. We all held our breaths as he pressed on his device to show the list. Also, I was lying about the whole expelling someone thing. That was a rational deception meant to bring the best in all of you. He explains with a smile that can only meant one thing. He fucking trolled us all. Well, of course it was a lie. I hear Yaoyorozu murmur out, didn't take much to figure that out. Anyway, we're done here. Your documents about the curriculum is back in the classroom. Give them a look. Aizawa tells us before turning to our casualty and handing him a form. Midoriya, have recovery girl fix you up. Tomorrow's trials aren't going to be any easier. Why yes, sir. With those last words, our teacher just walks off. Not sure what to think of him, I turn my attention to the listings. I'm ranked 8th. I was expecting to be at least in the double digits. When we reached the classroom, with our gym uniforms packed away and ready for the wash, there are indeed forms on our respective tables that tell us our schedule for the semester. After spending a few more minutes informing us about the type of classes and the schedules of the hero course, Aizawa dismisses us for the day. I let out a tired sigh as I sling my bag on my back. This is not what I expect for my first day in high school, even if I'm in the hero course. But I've got to admit, it feels good to use my quirk so freely like that. Hey, Tatsuya-san, was it? I turned around in confusion as Kirishima walks up to me with a smile. Wanna grab a bite to eat? My treat. Huh, what's this all of a sudden? I mean, we barely know anything about each other, besides our names and quirks. Asking a girl out on the first day. Kaminari calls out with a grin. That's bold, Kirishima. What? No, it's not like that. I just owe her one, you know. He explains. He owes me one. What is he talking about? Kind of think of it, he looks rather familiar. Where have I? Wait, his teeth are sharp, which looks like the teeth on that. Oh, wait, are you that guy from the entrance exam? Yup, the same one. He noted with a grin. Thanks again for the save back then. Huh, so you dyed your hair red. I pointed out, high school debut. Something like that. He grins. Anyway, want to. I saw this ramen place a few blocks down that looks good. Well, just as I'm about to answer, the door slides open with Deku in an anxious state shout out, Jenko. Can I ask you a favor? Some other time, perhaps. I tell him as I went to my childhood friend to ask him what's going on. And boy, there is something going on. Damn, a quirk assessment on the first day. Haha, you've got it rough, lil sis. Yeah, laugh at your sister's pain, why don't you? When I made it back home, Mom isn't back yet, so I guess she wouldn't be back till late. Her job is irregular like that. Noting that, I went to my room where I turn on my laptop and start video calling Tetsu to tell him about my first day. Tetsu isn't at home anymore, at least not of recently since he graduated from college a few years back. You see, if you didn't know, my brother is somewhat of a tech whiz, or you can say he is a genius when it came to hardware and electronics. He actually created a lot of things over the years since his junior high school days, usually gadgets and support items for some of his friends in the hero course. Heck, he actually has a few patents under his name by the time he graduated college. It is then that he is scouted by this scientist by the name of David Shield, a former psychic of All Might during his time in the States. From what he has told us, he had seen Tetsu's works and is more than willingly to offer him a job as a lab assistant with him on Island. Tetsu accepted almost immediately, and he since left home. Although, he has been sending letters home and allowed me to video call him from time to time. You know, word has it that All Might is teaching at Yui. He noted. He is. I saw a glimpse of him once. I stated. Dad confirmed it too. God, that has to be awesome. Having the All Might teaching you. Yeah, it would be. Sorry I couldn't be there for it. He apologized. I've just finished this thing for. It's fine, Tetsu. I assures him. Yeah, I wanted you here too. It's been a long time since I've last seen you face to face. But I know that is your dream job, and as your sister, I have to support my older brother's decisions for his life's goal. If that means I won't see you that often, then it's something I'm willing to live with. What did I do to get a sister like you? Tetsu chuckles. A muffled voice is heard in the background that he recognizes. Oh, got to go. We're finishing with the last few tests. Love you, Jen-chan. Love you too, Tetsu-nei. And remember to shave. You don't look nice with that scruffy beard. Hey, with that last word, I closed the app and let out a sigh. As much I want to deny it, I really miss my brother. The last time he is back here is during Aben last year, and he is only here for about a week before flying back. I'm home, and I've got cake to celebrate. With that statement, all sense of loneliness flew out of me as I rushed into the dining room. Strawberry shortcake, my favorite. To be continued. I glare at that black vicious beast, its long luscious tail swirling around as if mocking me. Its emerald eyes barely taking note of me as it lets out a loud yawn in boredom. Today is the day. The day I would get my revenge for my humiliation of days past. Today, that beast will get what is coming to him. Oh, for heaven's sake, Jenko, can you do this later? Deku calls out, lunch will be over soon. No, that beast will pay for what it did to me. Tatsuya, that's a cat. Shinsu noted, a harmless black cat. That's what it wants you to think. I tell him cautiously, because once you let your guard down, my lunch is in his mouth, isn't it? He nodded. I turning to the said creature, its eyes gleam with amusement as in its mouth is the legendary yakisoba bread of the cafeteria store below that I've worked my ass to get. With a flick of his tail, he sprints away. You damn thief. And I chase right after him. Pay up. Damn it. The very next day, the semester truly kicks off. But unlike the first day's crazy sudden test, the actual first period was mundane to say the least. The curriculum for the hero course is mostly the same as other non-hero schools, with 5 periods in the morning where normal classes are taught, a lunch break before the afternoon classes where the actual hero classes officially starts. As such, for the most of the morning, we're basically normal high school students. Not to say the classes are boring, but it is jarring to study for the same thing as I did in my previous life when I'm enrolled in a course that teaches us about being superheroes by real heroes. Allow me to break it up for you. We have compulsory classes that includes the usual English, science, art, Japanese, modern literature, history, and math. Aizawa is teaching us science, physics mostly considering his style of hero work. Japanese and modern literature is by Cementos, who looks like a walking cement block with arms, and his classes are fun especially with him bringing up a few Japanese classics as study material. Midnight, or as I preferred to call her, Nimirani, taught us history and art, which I think a few guys having trouble concentrating due to her unique costume. At least it is better than her original one from her debut. Boy, did mom and dad lectured her about that. And for good reasons too, it's borderline nude. Math is taught by ectoplasm, and boy is that one's a doozy, with the level of calculus being way too easy for me. Not to brag or anything, mathematics was and is my best and favorite subject in both this and previous life. I was a physics major back then and was on my final year before that trip in death. And in this life, if I want to become a proper hero, it's a necessity. You see, my quirk may allow my body to move fast, my brain is still processing in the same normal human speed. Which means that a lot of quick movements and adjustments have to already be made and predicted beforehand. To tell the truth, I'm still having some trouble just making the right moves at the right time. Trust me when I say this, it is not easy. It was thanks to Dad's guidance that I'm even remotely as good as I am using it nowadays. And then there's English, taught by Present Mike. Not to say he is a bad teacher, but his eccentric personality really doesn't fit that of a teacher at all. Like, at all. As such of today, being the last class right before lunch break. Now, who can tell me about the mistake in the following sentence? He asked, getting mostly silence in return. A few moments passed before he shouts out at the top of his lungs, "All right, everybody get your hands up, show me some of that heroic spirit." They got some response with a couple of hands raising up, of Ida, Yaoyorozu and Midoriya. Yaoyorozu got picked and answers the question correctly. Not that it is difficult, it's just a classic grammar mistake. Okay, now to. Most of the class I tuned out as my mind wanders back to yesterday, where Deku told me about this favor he wanted to ask me. Yesterday. So, what is it? I asked him in the corridor. You still have that international translator Tetsusen made? He asked. I nodded in response. Good, I like to borrow it for tomorrow. Tomorrow? Why? Why on earth would he need a translator for? Let's put it this way. Heroes help people, right? Well, there's this classmate that came from overseas that can't really speak Japanese all too well. And then there's this guy who is basically using that missing knowledge to teach her how to swear like a sailor. And seeing as my English is terrible, I thought of you and your brother made that translator so. I nodded in understanding. Is she a redhead? What? That has nothing to do with it. Yeah, whatever you say. I giggled. I'll dig it up for you when I get back. No guarantee that it'll be working shape, though. That's good enough. Lucky for him, that translator gadget still works fine despite being buried in all the prototype junk that has been stored in my room. Wonder who he is giving it to. Hey, pay attention, you all. Present Mike's voice echoes and vibrates the air as well as my inner ear canals to my discomfort, breaking me out of my mind wandering as the blonde teacher is staring straight at me with a look of disappointment. I'm sure you think this is also boring, but they are important for your future as a hero too now, Tatsai Shoujo. Please point out the mistake in this sentence for me. I rubbed my ears to try and get rid of the ringing noise as I stood up to answer. Never thought that we would get to eat this much for so little of a price, Deku noted as he slurps up his curry udon. Yui is quite a school. Huh. Definitely. I nodded in agreement. Once we break for lunch, almost everyone heads straight for the cafeteria. The cafeteria is also run by a pro hero, one named Lunch Rush. Although I have to wonder how is he a superhero, you can't deny his food is awesome. I just ordered a simple tendon and already I wanting seconds, like seriously, how? At any rate, once I made it there, I am greeted by Deku, who has two other students from his class with him. One who looks like a silver-haired version of Kirishima with the addition of white borders around his eyes, and a blonde girl with two massive antlers and hooves instead of normal feet. They are Tetsu and Tsunotori Pony, his classmates, and the overseas student he told me yesterday. Which bring us to here, with me and three of them eating lunch together. Is the translator working well for you, Tsunotori-san? I asked curiously. Yes, I really can't thank you enough, Tetsuya, she noted with a smile, her hand fidgeting with the choker with a speaker around her neck that connects to a hearing device on her right ear. I've wanted this when I transferred to Japan, but I couldn't find one in time. It is damn lucky you found one, huh? Tetsu noted, chomping down on his judon, but that must have cost you a fortune. I've heard they are selling at least 100 yen a piece. Nah, it's nothing. I assure him, besides, that there is the original prototype, so it's very limited in function. But if it's just English to Japanese and vice versa, it's plenty. Prototype. Wait, don't tell me you made this. It's her brother's actually. Deku pointed out, one of the many things he made during high school, I believe. Man, that is wicked, Tetsu noted. Your brother must have been one heck of an engineer. You could say that. I smiled as I took another bite at my tempura. Oh, fish, so, how was the classes? A lot mundane than I thought, he stated with a sigh. I mean, I don't get what is literature going to help us become heroes. And your homeroom teacher, Aizawa, was it? Deku noted, when I heard Eraserhead is going to be teaching us science, I did not expect him to be that gruff-looking. But you got to admit, he's definitely a professional through and through. Wonder how he ended up teaching here. Present Mike classes were interesting to say the least. Tsunotori noted. But then history class, my childhood friend shudders. I really hope Vlad-sensei let us change seats. Just sitting in front of Minta is a horrifying experience. Is he that bad? I asked curiously. This Minta guy, I mean. The worst, Deku groaned. He's like the hormones of horny teenage boys personified. You would not believe the eyes he is making looking at midnight. I can feel his gaze. Why yikes, guess there always will have boys like that in high school. Soon, lunch hour is over and we all return back to our respective classes, where we awaited our most anticipated class of the day. The very class the reason we signed up for the hero course to begin with. Here we are, anxiously waiting in our seats for the teacher to finally arrive to start our first basic hero studies, and the class excitement is slowly and steadily building up and is right about to burst open. And just as the excitement is about to blow over, the door slams open and, coming through the door like a normal person, All Might of all people flung himself into the room. Holy shit, it's All Might incredible. Is he really going to be teaching us? All Might, the symbol of peace, the icon of the hero world, the living legend himself throughout my whole life. His name became synonymous with the word hero, to a point that when people think of the word hero, All Might is probably the first thing that comes to mind. There's no doubt the influence his very presence has on the world at large, with the amount of publicity and media coverage one gets if they are even near him for a fraction of a second. And I can see why. His large, intimating yet warm muscular form, his bright unwavering smile with perfect cheekbones, and not to mention the sheer overwhelming presence he has just by coming into the room and standing in front of the class, it's indescribable. Though his costume for today looks a little tacky for someone called the symbol of peace. I mean, the solid red isn't doing him any favors, not to mention the cheesy cape he is wearing. Hero basic training, he proclaimed with his movements both exaggerated yet fitting, bombastic and full of energy. The class that will put you through all sorts of special training to mold you into heroes, and with an energetic pose, he shows to us a card in his hand, one that reads out the word. With that said, today's activity will be this battle training with that loud proclamation. He keeps the card and took out a clicker from his utility belt. And for that, you need these. He then clicks on it. From the wall opposite of the door, panels slide out revealing several metallic briefcases numbered from 1 to 20, in accordance with the Quirk registry and the special request forms you filled out before being admitted. Costumes. We all clamber out of our seats in a rush towards the wall to pick out our cases. These cases are numbered according to the ranking order from Aizawa's trials yesterday. After you change, come out in ranking order to training ground beta. All Might tells us with a heroic flair of his cape, striking the most heroic of poses. Looking good is very important. Ladies and gentlemen, look alive out there, because from today onwards, you're all heroes. Marching down the tunnel that leads to training ground beta, I could feel the tension growing from the fact that we are all dressed for one thing and one thing only. Hero training. Looking around the class, I noticed a lot of different type of hero costumes. From intimidating ones like Bakugo's with his huge grenade bracers, to full practicality like Iida's almost robotic-looking full-body armor, to just style choices like Kaminari's leather jacket and headphones, or Aoyama's entire outfit in general. Like, is the whole glittering cape really necessary? I'm leaning towards practical with a flair of style in them. My costume consists of a short-sleeved, long-legged white skin suit that hugged my body and goes up to my neck, with black accents and forms of lines on my sides leading from my ankle up to my ribs and under my sleeves. Over and on my upper half is a red bolero leather jacket with short sleeves tied to the skin suit sleeves with a black belt and light blue collar. On my wrists are two black skin-tight wristbands with white carbon fiber plates sewed into it. On the bottom half is a pair of long black boots that hugs my legs that has white armor-like pads on my shins and knees, with the part behind the knees having a fishnet texture, along with white soles with white pads on the heel portion and a bangle-like armor around my ankles. The boots go all the way up to my thighs that is secured in place by a button and zip combination. A silver utility belt is clinched around my waist. In them are a few first aid supplies and other stuff I might need on the field. Bandages, band-aids, antibacterial spray, disinfectant spray, some painkillers, and a pouch on my right hip that contains most of my batteries I would be using. In the last piece, a large blue translucent plastic mask that covers my entire face that is held in place by an arc of dark red metallic alloy that resembles headphones. That is light enough to not disrupt me from moving my head and firm enough to not bend about, which has padding on the top and sides close to my ears. The part around my ears is also hollow and empty, protected by a white grate-like design that allows sounds to come in and out. Shall we begin, my wards? All Might called out once we are all assembled together in the training ground. It's time for battle training. Sensei Ida immediately raises his hand up and starts asking. This appears to be the same field used in the entrance exam. Will we once again be performing sit-escape maneuvers? Nope, he replied instantly. You'll be moving on to step 2, indoor anti-personnel battle training. Seeing our confusion, he goes on further to explain. Villains are most commonly seen outdoors, but statistically speaking, the most heinous villains are more likely to appear indoors. Between confinement, house arrest, and black market deals, in this hero-filled society of ours, the cleverest villains out there lurk in the shadows. Now, you'll now be split into villain teams and hero teams and face off against each other in 2-on-2 indoor battles. With no basic training, Asui asked. Practical experience teaches you the basics. The distinction here is that you won't be fighting disposable robots. What determines victory? Can I just blast everyone away? Will you threaten us with expulsion like Aizawa-sensei? How do we proceed to divide ourselves into teams? How fabulous is my cape? One after another, questions pop up one after another. I mostly kept quiet as it looks like All Might is getting overwhelmed by the amount of questions being presented to him at once. He is a rookie teacher, after all. Dad has the same problems before when he first started, if what I have overheard is correct. Okay, one at a time. My quirk isn't super hearing, he tells us, before pulling out a piece of paper from his belt. Listen up, here's the deal. The villains will be hiding a nuclear weapon in the hideout, and the heroes have to go in and take care of it. The heroes will have a limited amount of time to either capture the villains or secure the weapon. The villains must either capture the heroes or protect the weapon until time is up, and your partners will be decided by. From behind his cape, he pulls out an entire lotto box. Drawing lots. Okay, where did he know? Wait, don't go there. That way leads to madness. Is that really the best way? Ida asked in shock. It makes sense, Midoriya being the voice of reason here, because pros often have to team up with other heroes from multitude of agencies on the spot during emergencies. I see. I apologize for getting ahead of myself. My mistake. It's fine, let's get on with it then. One by one, we all drew our lots and soon we all are paired up with one another. The teams are as follows. Team A is Midoriya with Uraraka. Team B is Todoroki with Shoji. Team C is Yaoyorozu with Tokoyami. Team D is Bakugo with Ida. Team E is Ashido with Aoyama. Team F is Koda with Sadu. Team G is Jiru with Kaminari. Team H is Asui with me. Team I is Ojiro and Hagakure. And finally, Team J is Siro with Kirishima. Pleasure working with you, Kiro. Asui greets me, I replied back with a smile. Moving on, All Might then reaches his hands into two more lotto boxes that have came out of somewhere. The first matchups will be he pulls out two balls and reads out, the heroes will be Team of the Villains with B Team D. Oh boy, this isn't going to end well. Midoriya and Bakugo aren't exactly on the best of terms. The explosive kid is obviously a bully of his. If he is given the go to literally bash his face in, Bakugo will probably goes overboard just to spite him. The villain team will go in first, our teacher explains. The timer starts in 5 minutes, when the hero team sneaks in. The rest of us will watch via CCTV. With that said, we are ushered into the building where we are supposed to watch the entire match play out. The first match was, let's just say it is way more intense than it could have been. The beginning was pretty obvious from the start. Bakugo is way too prideful to work with Ida, had his own animosity against Midoriya, and he predictably split off to do his own thing. And that is attack the hero team head on, mostly Midoriya. But I've got to say, Midoriya can really hold his own in a fight. His moves are amateurish, but he definitely knows how to read Bakugo like a book, countering his second attack and even throwing him over him and onto his back. Bad form, but you can't argue with the results. That changes immediately once Bakugo brought out the big guns, in a literal sense, as he actually took out an entire floor of that building using his support item. After that, it was Midoriya who was getting completely pummeled by him, tossing him left and right. Regardless of his prideful and arrogant personality, that guy is definitely at the top of the charts in terms of combat strength. His instinct, Quirk, it's on the level of a genius. On the flip side, Ida's match with Uraraka is much less intense, and somewhat hilarious on how our serious student is trying so hard to out on a villain facade that it came off so forced to the point of freaking villain of the day in the old tokusatsu shows. Despite that, he has taken measures against Uraraka's quirk of zero gravity, which greatly decreases her chances of even passing him. Good move on his part. The match eventually came to an end when in a final clash with Midoriya and Bakugo, in which the green-haired kid uses his quirk at full force for the first time since the entrance exam and punches up, blowing a hole right to the top from the sheer force of his strike. That in turn gives Uraraka a chance to distract Ida with a rubble barrage and takes the weapon, winning the match. That, unlucky, doesn't mean they really won the match. The MVP of this match goes to Ida. Ida, not Midoriya or Ochako, even though they won. Asui asked. That's right, All Might confirmed. Now, does anyone here knows why? I do, All Might Sensei. Yaoyorozu stated, it's because Ida is the only one that adapted the most to the scenario. From what I saw, Bakugo's every action was motivated by an obvious grudge. And as you mentioned before, Sensei, using such destructive attacks indoors are foolish. Midoriya's performance suffers from the same result. Uraraka lost focus halfway through. Not only that, her final attack is way too haphazard. If the nuclear bomb was real, such an attack would prove catastrophic. Ida, on the other hand, formed a counter-strategy and he envisioned what the actual struggle would be like. He was only too late in reacting at the very end. The hero team only won because this is a training exercise with exploitable constraints. Damn, Yaoyorozu. That's one heck of a wrap-up. It has stunned everyone silent, even All Might seems surprised. Well, Ida is also a bit too stiff, but yes, that is absolutely correct. With that, the battle trial continues in a heartbeat. Next bout was Team B as the hero team against Team I as the villain team at a different building. And it was over before anyone knows it. For one, Todoroki's quirk is way overpowered for a high school student with his ice powers. He manages to freeze the entire building in a single moment. From that, taking the weapon is just as easy as walking up to it and touching it. But damn, does he really have to freeze the whole building? I can feel the chill from here. Alright, next up will be All Might reaches into the two ballots, pulling out two more balls. Team H is the heroes, and Team J is the villains. I turned to my partner, the frog girl gave a nod in acknowledgement. We have a lot of prep work to do. Sitting outside, we look over the floor plans provided by All Might. For a simple training exercise, they really went all out in the construction of the buildings. Our building is 5 stories high, with each floor consists of between 3 to 5 rooms, each room around 10 meters high and 20 meters wide and long. Looks like we have to search floor by floor, Kiro. Asui croaked. I struggle to keep my squeal in check at how cute the way she is talking. I've never thought frogs could be this cute before, but we don't have much time to search the entire building. Any ideas, Tatsuya-san? I let out a cough to keep my fawning in check. In this case, we should split up. I'll head in first by the main entrance and scout out the floors first. Once I find the bomb, I'll radio you and you'll enter from a back entrance. Think you can find some other way in? Hiro. She nods. I'll be counting on you, Tatsuya-san. Just call me Jenko. In that case, you can call me Tsuyuchin. Right, Tsuyuchin. I smiled. Keep in touch. I put on my helmet mask and grab a battery from my belt and charges up. And with a deep breath, I'm off. I rockets down the hallways, checking every room I passes by. Once one floor is finished with nothing to show for it, I go upstairs and repeat the process. So far, the first 3 floors are completely empty, void of any signs of people or traps, which is odd considering Zero's quirk of tape from his forearm. They would definitely use it to lay at least some traps, but to see nothing. That's either they lack the time to do so, or they are confident enough to not require traps. But the moment I reach the 4th floor, things starts to get complicated. I barely managed to stop myself before I nearly run right into the web of tapes right when I climbed up the stairs. Talk about a close call, a few steps late and I'll be all tangled up and ripe for a bashing. On the bright side, it is confirmed that they are in this floor. But which room is the question of the day. The tapes are almost everywhere, leaving very little room for people to maneuver. Yes, they're going with the barricade tactic here, which is really bad for me as passing through the webs of tape to search the rooms will take way too much time. Time will be over before we find the bomb. Okay, Jenko, think what could be used to our advantage here. If indoor is no good, how else can we search? Then it hit me all the rooms in this building has windows, and if Tsuyu's quirk is frog-related. I quickly phone in on my transceiver. Tsuyuchin, over. Receive, Jenkochin. Can you climb on walls? I can. Good, because I need you to help me search the 4th floor's windows. I tell her, the hallways are booby-trapped with Sarasen's tapes and I can't move much from where I am. Kiro, understand. I'll check it out. With that, I cut out transmission and waited. They have to be on this floor. The stairs upward aren't trapped, which means that the bomb has to be here. I paced a little, almost anxiously as the waiting time grows longer and longer. Tsuyu, please find it. Jenkochin, I found the bomb. Her sudden transmission nearly startled me, but her words brought me much joy. Where? 5th floor, the innermost room from the stairs on the left. The one right past all the tapes. Should have noticed that sooner. But this still changes nothing. I'm still stuck in the tape-filled hallways without a way to even bypass them. What to do? Jenkochin. I turned to the voice. From the staircase's window poked out the frog girl's head. Over here. Tsuyuchin. Then another idea struck my head. Tsuyuchin, how heavy can you lift with your tongue? My limit is 100 kilograms. Why? Then hear me out. I've got a plan. They sure are taking their time, Kirishima noted. I thought with Tetsuya's speed, they would made it up here by now. Maybe the tape got them. Zero stated, it's pretty hard to miss. Oh boy, how wrong they are, as I am currently dangling outside via Tsuyu's tongue. My plan is a really simple one. With how much tape Zero used to booby-trap the hallway, they must not have thought about the windows as a possible entryway. As such, I had Tsuyu hoist me out of the building so that we can infiltrate from the outside via said window. Although, I've got to admit, being held so high up is kind of freaking me out a little. Say, Kirishima, what is with you and Tetsuya yesterday? Come on, we were there too, you know. When you ask her out and she waves you off. Oh, that. Nothing much, just wanting to treat her to some ramen, that's all. Never would have thought you would be into blondes. Nah, it's not like that. He tells his partner, I just owe her one. Thought to try and pay her back somehow. But you gotta admit, she has one hell of a body. Come on, man, don't talk about her like that. Okay, this guy talk has gone way too long for my taste. I motion to Tsuyu, my hand raised with 3 fingers shown. She nods as I start counting down. 3, 2, 1. Knock knock. With a sharp swing of her tongue, I crash right through the window a good distance away from the bomb and our villain team. Performing a recovering roll, I got back up and rummages my belt for another battery. Sorry to crash the party, I clench my fist around it as I charges up. Kirishima, got it. The redhead hardens his fists and charges towards me. I dodge his punch and took a running start towards the bomb, only jump out of the way of Zero's tape that nearly caught my foot and leap away from before dodging another swipe from Kirishima's hardened hand. He then launches a rush of punches towards me, I dodging them the best way I could. But unluckily, there's one I couldn't dodge and it slams right into my crossed arm that I manages to put up to guard, skidding me back a few meters. Talk about brute strength, his hardening quirk sure has advantages in a brawl. Zero then launches a tape right at me, which got me in my arm. I reach out to try and pry the tape off, only to get my other hand taped up as well. Caught you now, hero. Looking at both tapes and noticing that they are still connected to Zero's arm, an idea popped into my head. I lean back and thrust myself forward towards Zero. He couldn't react in time as I leap and slams both of my feet into his chest, knocking him away and down on the ground. Kirishima rushes at me, his hand hardens as he swipes it at me. Using this as an opportunity, I jump back, letting the hardened hand cut through the tape like a razor. The release of tension nearly cost me my balance as I fumble backwards before regaining my balance just barely in time to duck from a hook from the redhead. I leap away to gain some distance, raising my hands up in a boxing stance as I feel my charge starting to run out. Kirishima followed suit with a similar stance, Zero getting up and joining him on his side with arms spread out ready to shoot another tape at me. I skid forward a bit, they following suit. And then, just as Kirishima is about to rush towards me, match over All Might's loud boisterous voice echoes from the intercoms, the hero team wins. Wait, what? Zero looked around confused. What do you? Hero. They turned around and saw the reason. Next to the bomb, there stood Suyu with her hand touching the prop. You're the distraction, he noted in surprise, and we fell for it. Guilty as charged, I giggled, tearing the tape off. Brain beats brawn any day. Allow me explain, just infiltrating from the window is just the first step of my plan. The very moment I crash into the room, step 2 officially commence. You see, when I'm engaging both Kirishima and Zero, their attention is fully on me. That allows Tsuyu to sneak in without notice and secure the payload unopposed. My job is to make sure their attention remains on me long enough for her to reach the bomb, which in the end succeeded. Never saw that coming. Kirishima noted with a sigh, man, and I thought we had you on the ropes. You actually did. I added on, massaging my sore forearm, bruising already starting to appear. You really pack a punch, Kirishima-san. Oh, crap, is your arm okay? Nothing's broken. Just a little bruising, is all. Man, I never thought you would go through the window, Zero noted. How did you even get outside? Suyu answers by jumping onto the ceiling and sticking there. They both looked up and nodded in acknowledgement. Well done. Everyone all might congratulate us as everyone else finishes their matchups. No serious injuries, apart from Midoriya-san, and great teamwork, though you all did splendidly, considering this was your first training exercise. You know, coming after Aizawa-sensei, such a straightforward class is almost kind of a letdown, Suyu points out, we all nodding in response. We teachers are free to hold no-nonsense classes if we choose, the top hero explains. Now, I'm off to give Midoriya his evaluation, change out of those costumes and head back to the classroom. With that, he rushes off down the tunnel before any of us can say anything. Talk about being in a rush, what's the emergency, I wonder? Jenko-chan. Suyu walks up to me while everyone else walks back down the tunnel to the lockers. Are you sure you don't want to get your arm checked out? Nah, it's fine. I assures her, I'll just rub some cream over it when I get home. He's sure. Kirishima chimes in, it might be best to just check it out. It's fine, relax, I laughed, punching forward as a demonstration. See, nothing broken, you give yourself way too much credit, Kirishima-san. If you say so. And with that, our first heroic class ended on a high note. To be continued. Okay, seriously, how did this happen? I asked curiously. I think you should know the answer to this by now. Deku noted. I looked up at the victim on the tree. Hey, are you okay, Shinsu? Yeah, just hanging on. He noted. Do you seriously have to climb up there? Deku asked. I mean, it's obvious the cat isn't trapped. I know, but I just has to be sure. As he said that, the cat he was trying to help me out as he looks up from the root of the tree. It's another morning and another day of school. But unfortunately, getting to school kind of got complicated. Unlike the previous days where we are able to get into school with little to no trouble, today is where it got trickier. From what I can tell, someone must have let it slip that All Might is teaching at U, and the mass media, being the ever-nosy and persistent group of individuals they are, decides to hound the school entrance for hopes of even getting a scoop on this event. And that leads to us just standing a block away awkwardly as me, Deku, and Shinsu all looked at the massive crowd of journalists that is blocking our way in. We have saw them hound on the other students like piranhas on fresh meat. A few of my classmates have already fall victim to it, with Midoriya, Ida, Uraraka, and even Bakugo being the most prominent of the bunch. What do we do? I asked. They are blocking the way in. If I could use my quirk, I could fly us in, Deku noted. Maybe I should. Don't you even think about it, Shinsu. I tell him sternly, brainwashing them is just going to make things worse. Good point. So, that leaves we all stare at the sea of cameras and microphones. I let out a loud gulp before taking a deep breath. We turned to each other, nodding at the only remaining plan of action we could take. Rush them. Run, Deku took point as we all charges right through them. Hey, we want to ask you some questions, please. Wait, how is All Might as a teacher? Why did he become a teacher? What is All Might's goal in becoming one? Answers after answers barrage at us over and over, we ignoring them all as we rush right through. After a few agonizing seconds of dodging questions and microphones, we finally got through the gate and into the school grounds proper. Wait please, just a few questions. We all turned around just in time to see the infamous UE barrier closes right behind us. Got to love their security, go beyond and overkill. At least we don't have to worry about the paparazzi anymore. Nothing can get past the barrier. If you are done gawking. I looked back with Aizawa standing there with his hands in his pockets with his ever-present look of exhaustion staring at us. I believe homeroom is in an hour. To your classes? Now. Why yes sir, we all dashes down towards our respective classes. So, that's your homeroom teacher? Shinsu asked me, I nodding in response, must be quite an experience. You have no idea. I managed to make it to class a good half hour before homeroom start, to my relief. And when I entered the classroom, it is obvious what the conversation topic for this morning is. Tatsuyachin Hagakure calls out to me waving her invisible hand. You're okay, I thought the paparazzi got to you. Nearly did, I tells her as I sat down in my seat, but if you ignore them enough, they probably won't pester you much. When I heard heroes get a lot of attention, this isn't what I was expecting, Zero noted. I'm almost tempted to just use my tape and go over them. All Might sure attracts a lot of attention. Tsuyu stated, it's only been 2 days since the start of the semester. For them to just crowd the entrance like that, Kirishima muttered, so unmanly. I don't think that has anything to do with manly or not, Kirishima-san, I tell him. Okay, everyone settle down. Aizawa walks into the classroom and everyone all sat down proper and silence filled the air. Good work with yesterday's training. I've looked over your grades and evaluations. And he proceeds to critique all of our actions. Todoroki for using his power too haphazardly, Zero and Kirishima for not taking note for other possible entrance point, Ashido for being too reckless, the list just goes on for most of the class. Even I got some sort of feedback off him. Too reckless and to think harder next time. Apparently, my plan of divide and conquer isn't a bad idea, but the execution needs tweaking. Then came the real meat of his critique, his gaze almost drilling into the explosion teen's skull. Bakugo. Grow up already. You have talent, so stop wasting them. He could only growl in response, got it. And Midoriya, said teen flinched at the mention of his name, it seems you yet again ended up with a broken arm. Learn to control you, Quirk. Just trying isn't going to cut it. I hate repeating myself, but you do have potential, assuming you can overcome this. Work at it. Why yes sir. Alright, on to homeroom business. Our teacher stated, sorry for the sudden announcement, but today. We all waiting anxiously for the bomb to drop. What is it this time? Another last-minute test like last time. You'll pick a class president. So school-like, one by one, or all at once, everyone all volunteer for the position, shouting out their desire to be president. I personally just sat down and puts my hand on the table. Being a class president isn't something I wish to do in my first year, especially when we hardly know anything about each other. Quiet down, everyone. The noise stopped as Ida continues. Leading the many is a task of heavy responsibility, but ambition does not equal to ability. This sacred office demands the trust of its constituents. If this is to be a democracy, then I put forward the motion that our true leader must be chosen by election. Aren't you the most ambitious? That statement is very well be true, considering how high his arm is raised compared to what he just said. Why would you even suggest that? Kaminori asked. We haven't even known each other long to build any trust, Idachin. Tsuyu points out. And everyone would just vote for themselves, Kirishima added on. That is precisely why anyone who manages to earn multiple votes will be the best suited individual for the job, Ida explains. Will you allow it, sensei? Sure, whatever, Aizawa stated groggily as he crawls into his sleeping bag. Just make it quick, and with that, he is snoozing away. After passing out pieces of paper for us to vote for, we all wait anxiously for the results. I choose to help out with counting the votes in the ballot box. Okay, time to count the votes, I declare as I reaches into the box, and the first one is Midoriya. MME. Okay, that's when I marked it down before reaching back in, and Yaoyorozu. Then Kirishima, Jiro, Shaoji, Hagakure, Ajiro, Bakugo, Ashido, Koji, Sadu. Yaoyorozu again looks like someone is popular. Her blushing face tells me all before I continue to count, and oh, there's one for me. Okay, Oyama, Midoriya, 2 votes down. Takoyami, Zero, Kaminori, Tsuyuchan, and the last one is O. Who would have guessed it? Midoriya got 3 votes. W what? I got what? What in the who voted for Deku? Well, it's settled then. Midoriya is our class president, I announced. MME. 2. Now, vice president time, everyone, place your votes. In the end, we got Midoriya as class president and Yaoyorozu as vice class president. You guys picked your class president yet? I asked Teku and Tetsu as Pony returns with her lunch with Kirishima and Tsuyu in tow. I invited the frog girl since we hit off quite well after the whole battle trial yesterday, while the redhead somewhat ambushed me once we are released for our lunch break, wanting to have lunch with me. All we need now is Shinsu, but I never saw him in school grounds. Yeah, Kendo Itsuka, Teku noted, slurping his udon. Kind of fits. She's rather well. Is she a redhead? Yeah, Tetsu noted. That has nothing to do with it. Is there something I'm missing here? Kirishima asked. Yeah, what is with Teku and redheads? Pony asked curiously. Teku actually has a thing for redheads. I tell them despite his agonizing groans in the background. Found an entire stack of porno of the same category under his bed once. Dude, your girlfriend found your porno stash. Tetsu cried in shock. Okay, misunderstanding here. That stack was one of the tenants in my uncle's apartment who think it would be funny to hide his stash under my bed, Teku stated angrily. Seriously, Jenko. I thought we were over this. Never. I chuckle. He should know by now that I'll never stop teasing him over this. Then the last part of Tetsu's statement finally hits me. Wait, what do you say? I am Teku's girlfriend, aren't you? Oh, heavens no, I stated in shock. Dating him is the last thing I'll ever do. Same here, Teku agrees with me. She's basically family to me. Who would want to date family? Really? Pony asked in surprise. You two seem so close, though. Family, Ponichan. I tell her, that's as close as we are ever going to get. You two seems closer than family, though. Tsuyu points out. We literally grew up together, I stated. Heck, I've seen this guy naked so many times that I'm not even fazed by it. Is that something a girl should be saying out loud? Kirishima noted, just as I am about to retort to that. VVRREE, VVRREE, VVRREE. Everyone stopped what they are doing when a loud siren rang and echoes across the entire cafeteria. An electronic voice announces over the intercoms. What's level 3? Kirishima asked as most of the other students all rushes towards the exit almost immediately. It means someone infiltrated the school. A random upperclassman answers for us. You freshmen hurry and get out of here now. Infiltrated. Deku cried. Someone got past that metal barrier. Then we better move, Tetsu noted as we all rushed out of our seats towards the exit along with several others. Unluckily for us, this is Yui, top hero school in the nation, which in turn means their students are top tier in terms of responding to a crisis. That is a double-edged thing to have in this scenario, as pretty much everyone, and I mean everyone, have reacted in the exact same way at the exact same time, resulting in a clusterfuck of students all crowding and smushing against each other in an attempt to get away. That includes us, as we are all dragged along unwillingly by the sea of gray and white. Damn it, guys, seriously, Kirishima shouted out in agony as he along with Tetsu and Deku are dragged along the ride, separating from the rest of us. Me, Tsuyu and Pony are stuck near the sides, our bodies being squeezed against the wall as the other students scrambling past us. Ah, Tetsu Pony cried out. God, this is getting ridiculous, I groaned out as the horse girl's horn nearly slams into me for the 10th time in the past minute. Someone help, I turned to the familiar voice screaming out, to see Midoriya getting swept away into the sea of people and coming towards where we are. Acting fast, I reach out my hand and grabs onto his wrist just as he passes me. Ah, Tatsuyasen. Just hang on, oh no, I then felt myself getting pulled along as well. Pony just barely manages to grab onto my thighs as both us tries our best to stay together in this massive ocean of bodies. I can't hold on much longer, Pony grunts out. This is bad, really bad, Midoriya stated out. Everyone is too much in a panic. We need to calm everyone down, I stated out. And just as I said that, I heard engine roaring and the image of Ida spinning towards the exit in the air came to vision. He slams right into the wall, grabbing hold on the pipe for stability and with a loud and bold voice. Everyone, everything's fine, it's just the press, there's nothing to panic about, we're fine, this is you, behave in a way befitting this great institution. That got everyone to calm down almost immediately. The crowd instantly stopped pushing one and another and everyone starts moving out orderly manner. Soon enough, we all got out of the jam-packed hallway and onto another hallway where everyone splits up to their proper classes. I letting go Midoriya's hand immediately after we got out, he leaving to catch up with Uraraka and Ida. I took a deep breath to replenish myself. Thought I was actually going to drown in there. Got to thank Ida for what he had did. Honachan, you can let go of me now. Jenko-chan. I looked at Pony confused, whose hands are free and not on me, and Tsuyu who is pointing down towards my legs. I glanced down, to see a small boy with purple balls for hair and is rubbing his face against my spandex-clad thighs. So soft and wonderful, he moans out to my disgust, which I immediately response by grabbing the pervert by his head and tosses him across the hall as hard as I can. What a creep, I shuddered in disgust as I rubbed my thigh to try and rub his presence off of me. Never am I glad for wearing spandex under my skirt since junior high. And then I realized that I can't remove my hand from my thigh. No matter how much I budge, it would not move. Looking back down, I notice a purple ball like the ones on that little creep's head sticking my hand to my thigh. What is this thing? I can't get it off. What's wrong? Tsuyu asked. This thing won't come off, I groaned out, pulling on my hand. Hey, Tsunotori, Asui, Kirishima called out as he walks toward us with Tetsu and Deku in tow along with. Where did he came from? Are you guys alright? He then notices my predicament. What's wrong with her? Minta was just here. Pony tells them with a slight shudder, rubbing his face on Jenko-san's legs. What? Deku screams out in anger. Where did he go? That little perverted fuck. Dude, chill out. The redhead tells him worriedly, you looks like you're about to blow a gasket. And you guys are not a couple. Tetsu asked. Brother and sister at most. I tell him, and Deku tosses him right about that way. I pointed at where I've thrown him, but one of his ball things is stuck to my leg and I can't get it off. Oh, that's Minta's quirk. Our steel-named friend tells us it sticks to pretty much everything beside him. It'll come off, just not sure when. So I'm stuck with this for the rest of the day. Most likely. This day just keep getting weirder and weirder. The police eventually came by to arrest the paparazzi, and the alarm went back down to level 0 as the school day continues as usual. After that, we had a small meeting with Aizawa debriefing us on the whole Yui threat level system, and Midoriya stepping down as class president in favor of Ada being in charge, taking account on how he has handles himself during the whole mess back in the hallway, which he accepts wholeheartedly once everyone commented on it as well, me included. Then, for heroic class, we are to remain in class for heroic laws. For the hero course, our afternoon heroic classes are separated into 2 different types of classes, each alternating between even and odd days. For even days, it would be practical field work like yesterday's battle training. For odd days, it would be academics, like today's heroic laws. The door soon slides open and the teacher walks in, which brought a smile to my face when I saw who it is. Good afternoon, Class 1A. Dad walks in wearing a black business suit minus the tie and with a walking stick with wings accessories on the handle courtesy of yours truly. My name is Tetsuya Maki, and I'll be teaching you heroic laws today. He glanced at me for a moment, before his eyebrow raised a little when he saw my hand still stuck to my thigh. Oh my god, it's Hermes, I heard Midoriya muttered from behind me. He is most known as the fastest hero in the nation. Ranked 100th in the hero rankings for 20 years straight and holds the record for the most number of people saved that still stands to this day, and he is most famous for. Okay, Midoriya-kun, calm down there. He tells the excited fanboy. When All Might told me about you, I wasn't expecting a trivia on myself. But I've heard you retired almost 10 years ago. That I did. He patted his injured leg. Is it acting up again? But Principal Nezu calls me and asks me to join the faculty as a teacher to share my experience with the future generation. After almost an hour of persuasion, I mutter to myself, but that's not what I'm here for today. He places a book on the table and turned to us. As you know, being a hero has plenty of benefits. From the fame and glory of it all, to its most practical of allowing the usage of one's quirk in the public domain. But, with it come with its own set of rules and guidelines, one that if crossed would spell the end of your hero career. For example, Bakugo. The teen face him as dad, no, Herma-sensei, stares right at him. I've seen the footage of yesterday's battle trials. What you did to Midoriya, even if it's not intentional, it will land you in prison and more if you are a certified hero out in the field. Even if you are authorized to use it, using your quirk for such brutal violence is against the very law that bring about heroes to begin with. I know Aizawa might have not gone into much elaboration, but if you ever did such a thing again, we have the right to expel you from Yui. Is that clear? Crystal. Dad is really laying into him. Never seen him this upset since that time I nearly broke someone's nose back in elementary school. With that in mind, I would first like to explain the first and most known criminal offense of the heroic career, quirk violence. He proceeds to being writing on the blackboard with the chalk. Heroes are permitted to use their quirks to take down and defeat villains. But there is a fine line between heroic deeds and plain-out brutal violence. Of course, you are not allowed to kill, and some heroes took advantage of this loophole and acted in less heroic manner. The best example of this, Endeavor. I noticed Todoroki flinched as Dad continues on. He may have the greatest number of arrests since the introduction of heroes, but he also has some of the most lawsuits against him. During the start of his career, he has torched a good chunk of villains, no matter how small they are. This resulted in countless lawsuits filed against him, but were in the end dealt with by his lawyers. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Endeavor is a bad hero. He is ranked 2 for a reason. But he has skid over the law time and time again, which has brought up somewhat of a bad rep. He stops writing and turned to us, the blackboard now filled with a chart. With that said, let us look over what the law against quirk violence actually represents. Turn your textbooks to page 3. Mind his purple ball drop off right when the class ended. Soon enough, school is over and I am packed up and ready to go home. Although I'll be eating out today. Dad has told me right when class ended that he would be staying late tonight dealing with a few small issues and Mom wouldn't be back till the morning, her current case needing much more work to deal with. Not the first time this has happened. The first time was back in elementary and I had dinner with Deku and Kimiri, who treated us to some donberry where I had my first taste of tendon, got hooked on it ever since. But unlike that time, Deku is busy with helping out Kimiri with some stuff. And Shinsu left school earlier, the general course having less periods than the heroic course. Hey, Jenko Kirishima walks up to me with a grin, want to grab a bite with me. You really aren't going to let this go, huh? I stated, I thought lunch was enough. Yeah, but you pay for your own meal so. Alright, you win. I sigh, where's this ramen shop of yours? Oh, right before the station. He beamed at my answer, we might beat the crowd if we hurry. Right, just let me get my bags. As we left the campus, we passed by the entrance gate, which was sealed off due to the barrier being disintegrated. That would explain how the press even got through, but would a normal journalist even have a quirk to do such a thing? Damn, look at that, Kirishima noted. I wonder what could have did this. I don't know, I stated, but it is giving me a bad feeling. Little did I know that this little thing will soon come to a head, and I would blame myself for not noticing the signs beforehand. To be continued. So, where's this shop? Jenko asked curiously on their way to the station. Just right around the corner, Kirishima told her as they turned the block. Right there, Lucky, it looks like there are still some seats left. Okay, let's see if this shop is any good. She was about to walk in before she saw the poster on the window. Tatsuyasen. Oh, it is on now, she stated with a grin as she reads the ad for the food challenge. We have a winner. Kirishima could only gawk in either awe or fear as the waiter raises his companion's hand, her large bowl completely empty and her mouth greasy from eating the mountain of noodles she was presented with. It's a few days since that incident with the press, Tuesday of next week. The last week was pretty normal compared to the first 3, with practical hero training being sparring between classmates in which I completely dominated Bakugo when we are paired together. That felt so good. Later that weekend, I invited Tsuyu out for a trip to the movies, effectively having my first real girls' day out. We talk a lot about each other, like how her parents are hardly around due to work, leaving her to take care of her younger siblings. She even shows me her friend from junior high, a girl with a python's head, which I find both bizarre and cute at the same time. But now we're back in school after some rest, and are now awaiting our first practical heroic class for the week. For today's basic hero training, Aizawa yawns a little before continuing on. This time, All Might, myself, and one other is going to be supervising. What are we doing exactly? Zero asked. Preparing you all for disaster relief. He tells us, drawing out a card from his pocket to show us, the words written in bold on it, from fires to floods. It's rescue training. Rescue, huh? Sounds like another rough day. Come on, this is what being a hero is all about. I'm so pumped. Murmurs pops up left and right as we all are either excited or anxious over the new class, me included. Rescue, that's what heroes are most known for. Not fighting bad guys all the time, but instead rescuing civilians from disaster, crossfire, etc., and it's going to be my first time learning how to do it. I'm not done, Aizawa stated sternly. His hair flows up as his glare turns red a little. When we all calm down, he continues as he presses a button to reveal our costume cases in the walls. It's up to each of you whether or not you wear your costumes, as some of them are ill-suited to this sort of activity. I glanced at Bakugo at that statement. He notices and huffs away angrily. The training site is a bit remote, so we'll be going by bus. That's all. Please get ready. A few moments later, after we all have suited up in our respective costumes, we all board the bus to our new training site. Hida, for how enthusiastic he is for being class president, took it upon himself to try and usher us in a proper and orderly manner, only to fail when the bus isn't the standard layout as he originally thought it would be. Darn it, it was this kind of bus. All that for nothing, huh? Ashido noted with a giggle. I ended up seating right behind Bakugo next to Todoroki, he taking the outmost seat while I took the window one. I generally say what's on my mind. Tsuyu noted. Midoriya-chan. Why yeah, what is it? Asuya-san. Please, call me Tsuyu-chan. She assures him before pointing out, your quirk somewhat resembles All Might's, doesn't it? Really? Midoriya starts to pale at the comparison. It's not what I'm trying to. Hold up, Tsuyu. All Might doesn't get hurt whenever he uses it. Kirishima noted, they are already different in that aspect. But that sort of simple strength-enhancing quirk is awesome. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it, unlike, say, my hardening. He solidifies his arm as a demonstration. It's great in a fight, but it's pretty boring. That's not true. I tell him, standing up from my seat. You could always go all Juggernaut with it. The image of Kirishima and the Juggernaut costume pops into my head and let loose a few giggles. Now that I think about it, it would fit you so well. You should definitely go with it when you go pro. What's a Juggernaut? He asked curiously. Tomorrow, I'm bringing my X-Men collection. Be damned the rules, I stated firmly, sitting down. These people do even not know about the good oldies. Speaking of pro, we're going to find a way to appeal to the public too, don't we? Kaminari noted. If it's appeal, my naval laser is both strong and cool. Aoyama stated, perfect for a pro. As long as you don't blow up your own stomach in the process, Ishido added on, the blonde teen glaring back at the retort with a somewhat degradative smile. But you are talking about strong and cool, it has to be Todoroki and Bakugo. Yeah, but Bakugo-chan is so unhinged. Tsuyu noted, he'd never be popular. What'd say, frog face? See, it's only been the second week and already you've made it abundantly clear to us the unpleasantness of your steamed turd of a personality. Kaminari voices out, which Bakugo responding with, yeah, okay, Mr. Vocabulary. How about I pound you to pieces? And you are considered our top student? How? I muttered to myself. Like seriously, for someone who aced the entrance exam, he sure doesn't act like it. I wonder if there's a psychologist on campus for such cases. Is this USJ? I'm not sure if it's Kirishima or me who said it, but that phrase is perfect for the large training site we are in right now. The entire dome is several sizes of the Tokyo Dome, and it filled with different areas of various disaster climates. Flooded cities, landslides, burning buildings, you name it, they got it. Flood zone, landslide zone, conflagration zone, etc. Our latest teacher, One Space Hero, 13, explains to us in his/her. I'm going with his astronaut gear, every disaster and accident you can imagine. I build this facility myself. I call it it's really is USJ. Who would have thought it? Why, it's the Space Hero, 13, Midoriya gushes on. He's a gentleman who does his best work in rescue scenarios. And it's a he. Thank you for the confirmation, Midoriya. Who I love. 13, your rocket cheers on, excitedly bouncing up and down. He's the coolest. 13, where's All Might? Aizawa asked before the two heroes went silent as hushed whispers are exchanged between the two. 13 raising 3 fingers for some reason. A few more whispers later, Aizawa turns to us, so be it, let's get started. But before we do, I have a 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a lot of points, someone murmurs in the background as the Space Hero counts down all his fingers. As I'm sure many of you are aware, 13 turns to us, continuing, my quirk is called Black Hole. It can suck in and tear apart anything. Yes, and you've used it to save people in all sorts of disasters, Midoriya helpfully added in. Indeed, but it can also easily kill. He points out, the atmosphere turns grim all of a sudden. I've no doubt there are some among you with similar powers. My mind immediately went to Todoroki, Midoriya, and Bakugo. In our superpowered society, the use of quirks is heavily restricted and monitored. It may seem like a stable system to many, but we must never forget that one wrong move with uncontrollable quirk is all it takes for someone to die. He is right. If Todoroki is just a few margins off during the battle training, he could end up freezing both Ajiro and Hagakure solid, causing serious and irreversible damage to their bodies. Or if Bakugo didn't aim well and ended up hitting Midoriya, the poor kid would die. Same with Midoriya, whose punch could easily smash through buildings. Just one wrong move, and they end up being murderers. In Aizawa's physical fitness test, you came to learn of your own hidden potential. Through All Might's battle training, you experience the danger that your respective quirks can pose to others. And in Tetsuya's heroics laws, you learn about the rules and restriction of quirk usage. So now, in my class, we'll show you a whole new perspective. You will learn how to utilize your quirks to save lives. Your powers aren't meant to inflict harm. I hope you leave here today with the understanding that you're meant to help people. That's all. He took a gentleman bow towards us. Thank you for listening. Everyone all starts clapping and cheering, clearly influenced by the speech. I am so glad we have 13 as our teacher for this class. Great, Aizawa noted, leaning against the railings of the stairs leading into the training site. First off, he cut himself off when he glanced into the site. I, the ever-curious fellow, follow his line of sight to a small black spinning orb of smog in the center of the site. The orb grew in size until a hand reaches out from within and grabs the edge of it. From the orb, portal, a face is seen as the black smog exploded in size. And from that portal, people came walking out. Everyone, huddle up and don't move, he screams out, putting on his goggles and loosening his scarf weapon. 13. Protect the students. Sensei, what are those things? Kirishima asked. Don't move, those are villains. That brought a chain reaction to everyone. I was left in shock and horror at the situation as 13 huddled us behind him, villains. Here, Sensei, aren't there intruder sensors? Yaoyorozu asked the space hero. Yes, of course there are, but are they only here or at the main building? Todoroki noted, getting mine and a few others' attention. Either way, if the sensors aren't working, it has to be one of their quirks that's doing it. This place is far from the campus, and they picked a time when there'd be few people here. These guys aren't dumb. For such a well-coordinated sneak attack, they must have some sort of objective. 13. Begin the evacuation, Aizawa shouts out. Try to contact the school. One of these villains must be jamming the sensors. There's a good chance one of their electric types is causing an interference. Kaminari, try using your quirk to signal for help. Why yes, sir, the blonde teen noted as he fiddles with his headset. But Sensei, you can't fight them all alone, Midoriya cried out. Against so many, even you can't nullify all of their quirks as Eraserhead. Your fighting style has always involved erasure, and a quick binding capture a head-on assault is. Midoriya. Aizawa readies his scarf for combat. No true hero is a one-trick pony. 13. I'm leaving them with you. With that, our teacher leaps into the fray against the villains. Kids, this way. 13 took this opportunity to usher us towards the exit, which we all comply. We need to get help. Aizawa wouldn't be able to hold the line for long. But just as we reach the exit, I won't allow it. The same black smog appears in front of us, blocking our way out. Now that it is closer, I notice the two yellow slits that seems to be its eyes. Greetings. We are the League of Villains. Forgive our audacity, but today we've come here to the prestigious Yui High, this bastion of heroism, to end the life of the symbol of peace, All Might. That last statement sent shivers down my spine. I've read many hero comics in my spare time for both inspiration and enjoyment, and whenever there's a villain who has this much confidence on killing the hero, it usually means they have the actual means to do so. And the fact that they have the means to kill All Might, that cannot be good. We were under the impression that All Might would be in attendance today, but as his schedule was revised, the smog villain hummed, well, no matter. My role remains unchanged. And just as he finishes, Kirishima and Bakugo leap out and slams their respective attacks right at him. Not if we end you first, the redhead shouted out. Bet you didn't see that coming. Oh my, that was close. The villain recollected himself back into the pile of smog in front of us. That's right, students, you may be, but you are the best among the best. Now get back, you two. Be gone. 13's warning came too late as the smog envelopes us, I reaching into my pocket for a battery as blackness fills my vision. Writhe in torment, till you breathe your last. I could barely hear Ida's voice calling out for us before silence filled the air. I managed to fish out one battery and begin to absorb its charge, but then gravity starts to play a game with me as I suddenly felt the floor disappear from under me. The black smoke clears up, and to my horror I started to fall. I let out a loud scream before I felt my body crashing into something before sinking right into watery depths. The flood zone. That smog villain guy, is he a teleporter? I cover my mouth to try and stop my remaining air from escaping as I tries to swim to the surface. You're not going anywhere. I felt a hand grab onto my leg and pulls me back down. Its owner is a blue-skinned fish-like human with mouth-filled sharp teeth morphed into a predatory smile. He punches straight at me, I barely able to get my guard up, but he punches under it and into my stomach hard, forcing the last remaining air out of my mouth. My lungs start to feel constrained, water starts pouring in as another fist slam into my chin, forcing my head upwards, which the villain uses as an opportunity to grab onto my neck. Not my style to kill girls, but orders are orders. Just as my vision starts to dot with darkness as he begins to squeeze down on my windpipe, he suddenly let go. A slim arm wraps itself around my waist before I start moving along quickly in the water. A quick jerk later, I am hoisted upwards till my head breaking surface, air re-entering my lungs via my nose, forcing me to cough out some of the water. Are you all right, Jenko-chan? Coughing out some more water, I turn my gaze to my savior, Tsuyu, holding onto me by my waist. Why yeah, thanks for the save, Tsuyu-chan. Carrying me up, she climbs up the model ship, joining Midori on board. Thanks, Asuwa-san. He thanks her as she puts me down, I holding the railing for stability. Call me Tsuyu-chan, she tells him before adding on, but we seem to still be in trouble here. Yeah, that villain I noted, they planned this attack knowing that All Might would be here. But how? The incident with press from last week, Midoriya points out, they caused it as a distraction to gather intel. It's like Todoroki said, they've been waiting for this chance and prepared for it. They said they are here for All Might. Tsuyu added, for them to announce it so boldly, they must have figured out a way to kill him. Otherwise, why come here only to get beaten? It does seem that way, I stated. All of this started a week ago. From that one incident with the press and the barrier, I should have noticed the signs were there and I was too stupid to notice them. What do we do now? Hold up until All Might gets here. Not sure if we can, Kiro. Tsuyu noted, even if he makes it here, who can say that he won't be killed? My legs start to tremble a little when she said that. And it's not from the chill. Then what should we? Splash. Get down. Midoriya manages to push me and Tsuyu down onto the deck, just as a jet of water shoots out and crashes into the window next to us. A glance below and the situation is clear. We are completely outmanned, the villains encircling the boat, effectively blocking any possible escape route. We are effectively trapped. He pants out as we hid behind the cover of the railings. If there's even a chance that they have a way to beat All Might, then we have to fight and win. I look back at him, his eyes somehow gaining a calculative edge to them. He is the type that analyzes the situation before acting, think really hard before you leap kind of person. His usual muttering routine is a byproduct of that. If he is managing to keep his cool under all of this, why couldn't I? Those guys down there, they're clearly suited for aquatic combat, right? He pointed out. Tsuyu and I nodded at the point. They must have recruited them with the USJ's different environment in mind. I stated. Exactly, their intel told them that much. But with all that careful planning, one odd thing sticks out. He points at Tsuyu. They zap you into the flood zone. Asui, I mean TT Tsurukan. It's okay, take your time, she assures him. That's right, the realization hits me in the head when he points it out. With Tsuyuchan's frog quirk, wouldn't it be better to send her to the flaming buildings? Or the blizzard area? So why send her here, where she is most advantageous? That's exactly it. They don't know about her quirk in the first place, he explained. They have no idea what any of our quirks are, so their strategy was to scatter us and overwhelm us with numbers. That leaves us with one option for victory, to exploit the fact that they don't know our quirks. Look, they're not even trying to get aboard that supports my theory. In that case, we need to lay out everything we have on our quirks to everyone. I stated, leave nothing out. Then I'll go first. Tsuyu nodded. I can jump really high and stick to walls. My tongue can stretch up to a maximum of 20 meters. Also, I can spit up my stomach to clean it and secrete a poisonous fluid, which isn't actually all that poisonous. It really just stings a little. The last two aren't that useful, so you can forget about them. Okay, got to say, Tsuyu has way more in her arsenal than I originally thought. Wow, you are strong, I've underestimated you. Midoriya noted before continuing. Now me. I have super strength, but it messes my body whenever I uses it. My quirk, it's a double-edged sword. Then you better not use your quirk, unless it is the last resort. I reached into my pocket and took out a battery. I can absorb electricity from any appliance, as long as my palm and fingers including thumb are touching them. I clenched my hands around it and begin to absorb its power. With it, I can move really fast, fastest is 100 miles per hour. But my brain isn't accelerated by it, so I have a tough time adjusting my movements unless it's pretty straightforward. Also, I can do this. Dropping the battery after sucking it dry, I cup my hands, just fingers touching. Slowly separating them. Sparks and bolts flew between them with loud crack from each bolt. From what I can tell, the electricity in my body travels in a circuit which I can make and disrupt using my hands. It doesn't matter if all the fingers touch, as long as some of them touch. But if separated too far, it stops. I move my hands to about 2 hands length and the spark stops, so it's pretty much as useless for our situation. Not really, Midoriya tells me. I'm sure we can think of something. Just as he is able to finish his statement, something smashes right through our ship, breaking the vessel prop right into two and sending shockwaves through deck. Hero so strong, Tsuyu croaked out as Midoriya hold her hand to keep her upright. He split the boat in half. We're running out of time, he pointed out. We need a plan, now. That boat will go under in less than a minute. One of the villains pointed out with a savage grin. Once you're in the water, you're chum. Damn it, I'm useless in the water, I commented out angrily. If this was dry land, I might be able to fight them off somehow, but when I need to swim, I might as well be bait. Water, that's it. Midoriya suddenly turns to me. Tatsai-san, can you transfer the electricity elsewhere? I've never tried, but in theory I thought back to when Tetsu was still around, during my 4th grade, where he is helping me test out how much voltage I can take using a voltage measuring device that I do not know the name of. If I recall, is he suggesting yes, it can transfer out, but I don't know how much. It's fine, I've got an idea. After a brief summary of his plan, I got into position. Thankfully, I still have the charge I've absorbed from my battery, so I can move immediately. Got to give him props for coming with such a plan in a pinch. The moment when the enemy thinks they've won represents your best chance. Words from the wise Midoriya fits our situation perfectly. With a deep breath to calm my nerves, I leap out of the ship towards the water. Scoffing me, the villains just stay there unaware of our plan to fight back, which is advantageous to us. As I fall towards the water, I position myself in the diving pose with my hands out. Hands that I have my fingers connecting to each other. As soon as they touch the water, I separate my fingers and let the electricity flow out. I felt the entire charge leaving me, my own energy draining with every millisecond. The screams of the villains echoed in my ears, as well as the bright light that illuminate the water surface. Genkochin I felt Tsuyu's tongue grab me just as I heard Midoriya screams out. DELWARE smash. With a large splash, the force of his finger flick smashes into the water, pun intended. That created a small crater in the water that the now paralyzed villains are getting dragged towards the center, and within seconds, the surface tension of the water fixes itself forcefully, sending them all heads first towards each other, a glorious splash of bodies that is sent flying into the air. Good work, you two. Tsuyu congrats us on our way outwards, landing with a splash around the edge of the flood zone. That's one challenge down. I give her thumbs up while Midoriya clutches his broken finger, wincing from the pain. He needs to get that fixed soon. Thankfully, the water seems clean enough so we don't have to worry too much. The villains all knocked out in one corner close to the sinking ship, unconscious, hopefully not dead, because I really not want that on my conscience. Killing people as a student isn't something I need on my hero resume. An anonymous mental agreement later, we all slowly make our way to the shore. I'm slightly slogging along after them. The tiredness of my previous stun gun act is really wearing on me. Never thought losing my charge would drain me this much. Got to keep a mental note of this. Are you alright, Genkochin? Tsuyu asked me worriedly. You look exhausted. A little. I stated, I'll be fine. Just need to rest, which should be the last thing we need to be doing. Villains are still out there, so our crisis isn't over yet. So, what's the plan now, Midoriya? He got out of his muttering routine when I asked that question and replied, alright. He felt his bandaged finger. For now, calling for help is our top priority. If possible, we should follow the shoreline and make for the exit, avoiding the plaza altogether. As we made to the shore, we hugged by the side and lay low into the water to hide ourselves from the villains. In the distance, Aizawa can be seen as fighting against a huge crowd of villains of all forms. Got to admit, it is cool to see him in action, throwing them left and right, taking down guys larger than he is. If this is what a pro hero is, I'm not sure if I can reach that level by graduation. Looks like Aizawa-sensei is drawing a large number of them to the plaza. Tsuyu noted. There's too many of them, Midoriya pointed out. Of course, he's more than holding his own out there, but it's too much for him. He knew that, but he jumped in to protect us. You're not planning on. I'm not saying we should dive into the fight. He assures my question, just that we watch for an opening and do what we can to lighten Sensei's load. I looked at him worriedly, not sure about even going into a fight against so many villains. Our fight in the flood zone is merely dumb luck that they all are at the water surface and they not knowing of our quirks. And Aizawa's group is way more equipped for a fight. We scurried along the shoreline, taking care to not get seen by the villains. By the time we reached close to the stairs, I decided to peek back at the fight. Aizawa is now rushing towards what I presume is the head honcho of this band of thugs, the guy with hands all over his body who has grabbed onto his capture scarf. With that, he pulls him closer and elbows him in the gut. But then, he staggers back a bit, his elbow in the grasp of the leader's hand, which begins to disintegrate. This causes our teacher to leap back, dodging a pair of villains that has snuck up on him and taking them both down effectively. But when he is doing that, something else appears behind him. A large black muscular mass of a man with his brain out in the open grabs our teacher's injured arm and twists it like a pretzel, effectively breaking it in one smooth motion. And with his spare hand, smashes him into the concrete floor so hard that it cracked, crushing his skull in the process. I don't have to turn to know that both Midoriya and Tsuyu are watching this with me, and with the same blank stare of horror. What is that thing? Meet the anti-symbol of peace. The leader stated out, the bioengineered. The thing let out a deafening roar. Namu. To be continued. Amake. For today, we're going to be sparring against your fellow classmates, All Might declares as all of Class 1A has gathered into one of the buildings of Training Ground Beta in their gym uniforms, where there are several practice mattresses scattered about in an organized manner. How are we going to be paired this time? Beta raising his hand and asking. As we did for our battle training, he explains as he takes out a ballot box, drawing lots. After some time drawing lots, everyone is paired up with their sparring partner. Jenko got paired with Bakugo, the lighter blonde of the two, grinning with some sort of glee. Now the number one hero loudly proclaims, you are to spar without using your quirks. There will come times where you are unable to use them, so you will learn how to deal with villains without them. Those who have some fighting experience, please help out those without the best you can. We will rotate every few minutes. Do everyone understand? Yes. Good, you may proceed. With that last declaration, Bakugo rushes towards his opponent with a wide right hook. Jenko simply got close and lands a solid jab into his face, knocking him off balance and sending him tumbling on the practice mattress. Too wide of a strike. She tells him, you want concise and fast motion. Otherwise, you'll get countered very easily. He got back up, scowling at the fact that the blonde girl got him. He charges back in, throwing punches left and right. These were either blocked or completely dodged by Jenko, who at the same time is trying to tell him all his mistakes, which causes him to rush her even more. Too wide, you should keep your shoulders in. Shut up. Listen to me. I said shut up. She has had it with his attitude and grabs him by his shirt's collar and with a grace of a judo master tosses him onto the ground. Listen to me, you egotistic fuckface, I'm trying to help you, so, for the love all things all might, listen to what I am trying to say, damn it. Everyone else all look on in complete surprise at the amount of swearing Jenko just did. Well then why don't we switch opponents now? I have to cover my mouth to prevent myself from making any sound, in fear of them even noticing us. It was all well at the beginning. Aizawa seems to have a fighting chance. But then that thing he just came out of nowhere and completely destroyed him. What is that monster? Is it even a person? I doubt the term beast is even enough to describe what that is. That bulging mass of muscles, that dead fish eyes, the exposed brain, its entire body just screams not natural. Come to think of it, didn't he said that it is bioengineered? What kind of person is able to create that? And its name Namu. Something about that name just screams warning bells in my head. It's like I'm supposed to fear it. Why, I can only chalk it up as a gut feeling. Canceling out quirks pretty cool, but it's nothing special. The hands villain points out, up against impossible strength, you might as well be quirkless. And to demonstrate that, the Namu grabs his other arm and with one solid size crushes his elbows with a loud snap. It then grabs our teacher's head and slams it down against the ground, cracking the concrete floor. That thing, he's as strong as All Might. This is bad, really, really bad. Even if All Might make it here, can he even take that monster down? Before my train of thought can go anywhere else, a vortex of black smog spun to existence next to the villain leader, Shigaraki Tamura. Shigaraki Tamura, is that his name? Furajiri. His third team dead. He's incapacitated. But there were some students I couldn't warp away and one of them escaped. Huh, is that right? The leader raises his hands up to his neck and starts scratching. He just keeps scratching viciously till he actually draws blood as he rants out, Kurajiri. I'd turn you into dust if you weren't our ticket out of here. He then stops scratching, slumping down with his hands laying limp on his sides. We won't stand a chance against a group of pros. It's game over. Game over, for now. We're leaving. I nearly choked on my own spit when I heard what he just said. Leaving, just like that. All this trouble, and they are just going to leave without even waiting for All Might. I'm not the only one that heard him, right? I whispered that he said they're leaving. I heard it too. Suyu noted, but I got a bad feeling about this, Midori-echan. Yeah, to do all this and then just leave on a whim, he pointed out. This isn't right. What kind of villains just come to wreck something before leaving without even accomplishing their actual objective? I mean, that has that Namu thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they let it loose on this place just to show it off, but to just leave without doing much with it. But before that his gaze turned till his eyes nearly meet mine. A shiver went down my spine when his hollow eyes stared at me. Let's leave a few dead kids. And I blinked. He is before us with his hand reaching out for Tsuyu to wound the pride of the symbol of peace. I didn't know why I reacted the way I did, but the moment he appeared in front of us with his hand reaching out for Tsuyu, I lean out and pushes her out of the way into Midoriya, which left me in her place when the villain's hand landed on my head as I braced myself for the cracking disintegration. But nothing happened. You're really cool, Eraserhead. I glanced past him. Our teacher has his eyes glaring right at Shigaraki with the glimmer of red of his quirk's activation in his pupils. But then the Namu grabs his skull and slams it back into the ground with a sickening crack. The moment the sound is heard, I felt my body being pulled over as Tsuyu's tongue wrapped around my torso and pulls me towards him. At the same time, Midoriya got out of the water and cocks his uninjured arm back, aiming right at him. Get off her. His attack struck, a loud wham, and the aftershock that blew up so much dust obstructed our view. A few moments later, as the dust settles, the very emotion of fear and despair filled my heart as I saw the result of his attack. We didn't even hear him call out to the Namu. Quite some moves you two just pulled. Shigaraki pointed out. Midoriya's fist is pushed against the black monster's muscular gut unharmed from that attack, and with a smash, too. Are you a fan of All Might? Well, whatever. The monster reaches out to grab Midoriya as Tsuyu extending her tongue towards him. I saw the villain reaching his hands out towards us. I cocked back my own fist and ready to retaliate as his palm creeps ever closer to us. Even if hope is lost, I can't afford to not fight back. But, smash, the doors to the dome are blasted out of its hinges inwards. It wasn't a bomb, no heat or shockwave is present. That very act stopped everything as we all, even the villains, turned to see the source of the commotion. And when his figure stomps in, I felt my heart soar. Have no fear, for from the broken entryway, he came in. His heavy footsteps echoing with each step, possibly cracking the tiles. And with a solid motion, All Might tears off his tie. For I am here. My vision is blurring from the buildup of tears at the corner of my eyes, but I can see something that I would never think was possible. All Might, the #1 hero that saves people with an unwavering smile, is not smiling. We gotta continue. Shigaraki laughed in what I can only comprehend as joy. Kurogiri, our chance is here. All Might tosses his jacket and shredded tie aside and steps forward, and then he blurs out of existence for a fraction of a second before reappearing right next to Aizawa. The villains in the plaza all knocked down or away at the exact same time. He's fast, and I thought Dad was quick. Hanging the beaten and injured Aizawa over his shoulder, he turns to face us. Blue pupils glow under his shadowed eyes for a single moment, and then the world blurs. One moment I was in the water with Tsuyu. The next we are back on dry land next to Midoriya with a bloody Aizawa laying in front of us as the symbol of peace kneeled in front of us with one arm back. Everyone, to the entrance. Now he tells us, take Aizawa, he's unconscious. Alright, I immediately place our homeroom teacher's arm over my shoulder. Midoriya-san, help me with his legs. He did not move, so I call out again, Midoriya-san. Wait, All Might, he suddenly calls out. It's no use that brain villain 1 for 2 mean. My attack wasn't strong enough to break my own arm, but he didn't even flinch up against that Midoriya shounen. All Might turns around, gives us his famous smile and said, it's fine now. And he turns around and took a stance. Now, go. Midoriya-san, I call out again, we got to go. Alright, he follows our lead, just as All Might's feet pushes off the ground as he charges into the fray. Carolina smash. Impact upon impact can be heard in the distance, as the fight between the symbol of peace and the anti-symbol of peace commences in full, the monster's toneless roar echoing behind us as I hear All Might's punches hitting blow after blow. I took a good look around the plaza. The villains taken out by his advance is either completely out cold or is left on the floor convulsing in pain. All the major pressure points, such precision with such speed. All Might is the #1 hero for a reason. I guess talk about the power gap. Wonder if I could even come anywhere close to his level of speed. Then, just as we reach the foot of the stairs, an explosion is heard in the background with the aftershock of wind pressure nearly causes me to fall over. I stepping out a foot to stop myself from toppling over, before looking back at the fight to see a column of dust around it. What the heck was that? All Might is unreal, Tsuyu noted. He may be a rookie teacher that still needs cheat sheets, but he's really in a whole different league. Maybe we're worried over nothing. Midoriya is looking back at the fight, his expression completely unreadable. Worry, fear, whatever it is, it's not a positive one. The dust began to dissipate and I couldn't stop myself from gasping in shock at what I just saw. Keikiro, All Might, bleeding. His entire body is arced from what I can guess is him trying to suplex the monster into the ground. But instead of being buried in the concrete like he has hoped, the same black smog villain has his smog portal suck in its top half, which pops up from another portal right under him, and the Namu took this chance to clench its hands right around the symbol of peace's ribcage, drawing blood. So, he hoped to drive him into the concrete to seal his movements. Shigaraki commented, clever, but it wouldn't have worked. Namu is created to be as powerful as you. Well done, Kurogiri. Perfect timing. Impressive for first-time offenders, All Might grunted out, blood dripping from the corner of his lips as he struggles to get himself out of the death grip, but you best prepare yourselves. A leader raises his hand up to his neck to start scratching. Kurogiri, I can't say I like having blood and guts inside me, but if they're yours, I'm happy to oblige. The smog villain stated as All Might starts sinking into the black portal. You see, it's the Namu's job to get around that annoying speed of yours and hold you down. And it is my job to close the warp gate on you while you're halfway through, tearing you apart. All of this is part of their plan, a trap to get to All Might to where they wanted him to be. For all his Herculean strength, there is no way he is able to make use of it. In that posture he is helpless like that. Even with all that power, All Might wouldn't stand a chance getting ripped apart like that. Asuasan, Hiro, what is it? Midoriya-chan, trade places with me. Without a word, he let go and Midoriya rushes back towards the fight. Midoriya-san, wait, I screamed out for him, he just rushing in without stopping. This isn't good. I know that Midoriya has the same power as All Might, but unlike the symbol of peace who can use it freely, just using it once is catastrophic for his body. He would be a sitting duck out there. Tsuyu-chan, take Aizawa-sensei. I reluctantly hand our teacher over to the frog girl's shoulders, before turning around and rushing after our fast-paced friend. Reaching into my utility belt, I search around and took out the last remaining batteries into my hand and clenches tightly around them. If I'm going to do this, I need to be at full charge. Hopefully, the past week of training has built up my body enough. Feeling the charge flowing in, and as the tingling feeling starts to overwhelm my senses, I rocket forward, charging towards Midoriya to get him back. And then, just a few paces before I reach Midoriya, move out of the way, Deku Bakugo somehow flew into the picture and slams his palm into Smog Villain, detonating a large explosion right at his face. The black smog dissipates slightly, a metal collar thing can be seen from within. The explosive team then grabs onto it and slams the villain into the ground. Where did he come from? And did he just? No time for that. If that's the case, we have a chance. The Namu doesn't seem to be acting on its own accord, so it must be controlled by Shigaraki. If I can disorientate him and stop him from issuing command. I change my trajectory and speeds towards the hand-filled villain, leaping over the creeping ice that is heading towards the monster in the process. At around the same time, Kirishima also leaped out from somewhere behind him, slashing down his hardened arm right at the villain's leader. Shigaraki easily dodges out of the way of his attack, but unluckily into mine as I charge forward at my top speed and slams my fist into his gut. In retaliation, his hands move to grab me, but I twist out of the way and lands a rising uppercut right at his face. I misses and hit the hand that is acting as his mask instead, knocking it off him. Getting back my bearings, I spread my legs out in a wide stance to launch another blow, but then I saw his face. Wrinkled face, dry lips, bloodshot eyes with eye bags. He doesn't look like a sane person at all. But what gave me pause is his expression when he glare at me. It screams of promised death and anguish. I flinched for a moment as my mind and body screams to run, to keep my distance with him. That became my downfall as his hand reaches out grasp around my wrist before I can react. I can feel my braces crumbling under his touch and his hand bypassed it and grasps on my wrist. Tatsuya Tatsaya Shoujo. The pain was immeasurable as I let out a scream in response, pulling my hand to try and get free of his iron-tight grip. Sounds of cracking and freezing can be heard as a sheet of ice races towards Shigaraki, who let me go and jump out of the way of Todoroki's attack, which I am forever grateful as I speeds back to my classmate's side. "Are you all right, Tatsuya?" Kirishima asked worriedly. "Why yes," somewhat I grunted out as I felt my wrist. The skin has broken away, revealing my muscles underneath as blood is flowing out continuously. "Thanks for the save, Todoroki-san. Save it for after we survive this," he tells me. I nodded as I reach into my first aid pouch to pull out a roll of bandages and cotton wool. Kirishima noted this and moved over to help me bandage up my wounded wrist. That is careless of me, standing frozen like that. Looking around, I realized about the entire turnover of advantage. Todoroki have frozen that monster's arm and leg in place while it is still in the smog portal, its user currently on the floor grunting with our explosive classmate lording over him with his hand at its metal collar. "You slipped up, you bastard," Bakugo gloated over the smog villain. "It's just as I thought, you are not completely made of that foggy stuff, you're just using it to cover up the part of you that aren't. If you were, you wouldn't have said that was close." The villain struggles to get out of his hold. But then our violent blonde hero Tobe let loose a few sparks of explosion around the collar. "Well, now don't you dare think about doing anything funny, or I'll blow your head off. That's not really hero-like, dude," Kirishima pointed out. The villain leader grumbles as he picks up his face hand mask thing, putting it back on. Despite it somewhat covering his eyes, I can still feel his hostile glare towards me. He then breathes deeply, before turning to us with now a somewhat calm farce as he stated, "Not only have you beaten our level, but you're all in full health." Well, mostly full health. I flinched at his comment, Kirishima just finishing bandaging up my wrist. Today kids really are something else. Our League of Villains should be ashamed. What is this guy spouting about? Health? Level? Is this all some kind of game to him? Namu, take out the explosion brat. We need to get out escape route back. At that command, the Namu, despite its frozen limbs, lifted itself out of the portal and breaking its frostbitten limbs in the process. His body's falling apart but he's still moving. Midoriya remarks in shock. "Get back, everyone." All Might calls to us. "What in the—" I thought his quirk was shock absorption. I don't remember saying that's all he can do. Shigaraki stated, "This is hyper-regeneration." True to his words, the monster's fallen limbs start growing back, muscles, bones, skin and all. Namu is a superpowered living sandbag designed to withstand everything you've got. Once all its limbs are all grown back, he lunges forward in a blur. The next thing we know, he punches right at where Bakugo is, sending a shockwave of air hurling past where it hit, and the aftershock is blasted right through us. So fast that's almost as fast as All Might. Kaken Midoriya screams out, only to cry out a little softer when we all notices Bakugo right next to him. "Kaken, you dodged that." "I didn't," he stated. We all then turn to where he is looking at, to see the real reason he is still okay. All Might has taken the hit for him, his arms now heavily bruised and bloody. This guy, he doesn't seem to know the meaning of holding back. Anything to save a comrade, right? Shirogaki starts talking, just like earlier when, those two. The plain one and the blonde chick. They came at me with everything they have. But violence in the name of saving others is admirable, isn't it, hero? And you know what, All Might? That pisses me off. He then continues to rant out, heroes and villains both thrive on violence, but we're still categorized that's how it is, symbol of peace. In the end, you're just a tool for violence, made to keep us down, and violence only breeds more violence. I'll show the world that by killing you. What a load of crap. All Might stated, idealistic criminals have a different sort of fire in their eyes. But you're just enjoying yourself, you big liar. Oh, you got me. Saw right through it. It's a 3-on-5 situation. Todoroki pointed out, we still outnumber them, so let's use that to our advantage. Yeah, and Kaken has shown us that missed guy's weak point, Midoriya added on. These are some brutal dudes, but with us supporting All Might, we can beat them back, Kirishima noted. I nodded in agreement as I stood ready. My right hand is in no shape to use, but I still have my left. No, All Might tells us, get out of here, all of you. All Might, you're bleeding, Midoriya tells him, and I think your time is UAH too mean. Time is up. Why does that seem really important somehow? All Might time being up. I feel like I should know something about this. Things wouldn't have gone so well if I hadn't just stepped in, Todoroki commented. Right you are. Todoroki shounen thanks for that. The symbol of peace tells him with a thumbs up, but fear not, sit back and watch a pro get serious. Namu, Kurogiri, take him. Shigaraki commanded, I'll handle the kids. Starting with that blonde bitch. I flinched at what he said as we all took stances ready to fight. Kirishima hardened his fists and took a low stance. Ice starts to crack around Todoroki. Midoriya raises his hands up in a somewhat ready stance. Bakugo braced himself, raising his palm facing the villain. I raise my left arm in a somewhat loose stance with feet slightly off the ground as I feel the charge still circulating around me. I have to do this. Let's clear this game and go home. Shigaraki sprints towards us with arms wide open and hands ready to strike. Why? And then, the ground shook violently as a large burst of wind blasted right towards us, sending us flying back a few meters. A storm has emerged in the plaza's center, and at its core, because I am the symbol of peace and justice. All Might clashes once more against the monstrous Namu, his fist slamming into its own, releasing a pressure of air that starts to blow us away from the plaza altogether. I nearly flew away if weren't for Todoroki, who has made a large wall of ice behind us that caught us. Hey, Shigaraki stated as he cartwheels back to a safe distance. Did you just witness its shock absorption yourself? Yeah, I did. All Might then starts launching blow after blow, each punch being countered by the monster's own again and again. Soon enough, the strikes just blur into blobs of flesh that keep slamming into each other, each attack sending shockwave after shockwave spilling out of the core. If you said it is shock absorption and not nullification, then there has to be a limit to it, does it not? In the entire fight, even though I can't see the punches actually hitting, it is clear what All Might is doing. With one punch that hits its flesh, the impact has traveled back through its muscles and bulged up its body like some sort of human sponge. And with each additional attack, the bulging muscles expand out more and more, till its skin is starting to strain under all of the balloon muscles that it starts to tear and stay tear. It is clear that even with its regeneration, its body is unable to keep up with its own absorption and starts to destroy itself like an overly inflated balloon. Made to fight me, you say? The number one hero noted as he starts to advance. If it's made to handle my best, then I just have to go beyond my best. Soon enough, the onslaught is starting to overwhelm it as All Might's punches starts breaking through its guard, a few punches hitting it, forcing it back an inch at a time. With one mighty roar, he lands one solid punch that sends the monster flying into the trees. A hero leaping forward, he made pursuit as the Namu rebalance itself before running back towards the fight on fours, using its arms to push itself up into the air to meet him in mid-flight. Using the momentum, it strikes right at the symbol of peace, slamming him into the ground before following with a hammer blow that he manages to block. Always finds a way out of pinch, kneeing it in the gut. He sends the monster flying. He then leaps over it and landing at where he has tossed it and punches it into the air. And then, with a great leap, he rises up to meet it in the air. Using his momentum, he grabs its arm before spinning it around and slams it into the ground, cracking the ground in the process. Holy shit, no idea who said that, but it could be any of us as we witness the proof of why All Might is the top hero in the world, of why he is the symbol of peace. Tell me, villain. All Might says as he lands in front of the Namu that has bounced up due to its own shock absorption quirk. Do you ever hear these words? He took a stance, clenched his fist and cocked back. Go beyond. And then, he strikes forward, his entire body twisting with his fist. Plus ultra. The resulting punch sank into the monster's gut, before, like a rubber ball being hit back a baseball bat, it recoils on itself and sends itself flying into the air. And it keeps going up and up and up till it smashes right through the dome's roof and out of the USJ. Lights shatters. The entire training site shudder from the aftershock of that single punch. Like straight out of the comics, Kirishima noted in shock. He just smashes right through the absorption like it was nothing. Against all that power, its regeneration can't keep up with the rush of attacks, Bakugo noted. It is obvious what everyone is thinking at the time. We just have a glimpse into the world of pro heroes, at the slight glimmer of its summit and its current ruler. Yep, I'm getting rusty. In my heyday, just 5 punches would do. All Might, even heavily bruised and bloodied, still keeps his unwavering smile of hope as he jokes about, but that was over 300 hits just now. He then turns to Shigaraki, his stance ready for a second round. Well then, villain. How about we hurry and finish this up? You cheated, the villain leader grunted, scratching his neck furiously. Blood starts to flow from his scratches. You've weakened. What part of that is weakened? They lied to me. Well, what's wrong? Come and get me, All Might calls out. What happened to clearing the game? If you can take me, he stiffens his stance, then bring it on. If only we still had Namu. Calm yourself, Shigaraki Tamura. The smog villain assures him. It's apparent that Namu manages to deal some real damage to him. He glances towards us for a moment. The kids are holding back for some reason. Reinforcements from the school are bound to arrive in a few minutes, but if the two of us double-team him, we might still have a chance. Yes, he starts muttering out something inaudible. I couldn't catch of his words at all. Looks like All Might got it under control. Kirishima noted as he, along with Todoroki and Bakugo, turns back to group up with the rest of our classmates. Let's go see if we can help the others. You coming, Tetsuya? Huh? Oh, yeah. I nodded numbly as I follow them back. All Might seems to have it covered. Even their greatest weapon against him is taken down. So, it should be an easy win from here on out. And yet why do I still have a bad feeling about all of this? A sudden gust of wind from behind me answers that question for me. I turning back to see that Midoriya has somehow leaped right towards the two villains. From his wiggling legs, it seems he used that same move he did back in the entrance exam to take down that zero-pointer. This is bad. Even if he lands a hit, that guy's quirk will. The image of his body crumbling away projects itself in my mind. No, that will not be happening today. Without a second thought, I sprint forward right after him. Oi Tetsuya, ignoring the cries from Kirishima, I let myself rocket towards Midoriya, who is aiming for the smog villain with his unharmed arm. When Shigaraki's arm reaches out of the smog portal, I force myself to go faster. I have to make it if I don't heal. And with every strength in my body, I force my quirk to accelerate my legs far beyond what my max speed originally is. The surroundings blur as I focus my eyes on my target, and with a final lunge on my part, I tackle our green-haired fanboy down onto the ground, avoiding the villain's hand. At the exact same time, I hear a gun goes off as Shigaraki's hand is snapped to the side with a small hole bleeding from his wrist, followed by 2 more shots. Sorry for keeping you waiting, everyone. A familiar voice calls out from the entrance. We've rounded up as many as we could. Class 1A Class President Ida Tenya, the all-too-familiar voice of our glasses-wearing model student, echoes out. Have returned with help. At the entranceway, there stood our reinforcements, the entire faculty staff of Yui High. Midnight, Present Mike, Snipe, Power Loader, Hound Dog, Ectoplasm, Cementos, Vlad King, along with a few others that I do not recognize. All of them has arrived in full hero costume and ready to fight. Even Principal Nezu is there with them, sitting on Vlad King's shoulder. Game over, I heard Shigaraki stated as he took a few steps back, got to retreat before he could finish. He is pounded with bullets to his limbs that causes him to fall limp on the ground, his partner surrounding him in a black smog barrier that absorbs the following rounds. A small fraction of a second later, the smog villain starts to get sucked up somewhere, forcing it to focus only around the leader to try and teleport themselves away. I may have lost this round, symbol of peace, the leader calls out with an angry glare in his eyes, but the next time we met, you're dead, All Might. With those last words, he disappears into a swirling vortex of smog that soon swallow itself up into nothing. I let out a sigh of relief as I rolled off of Midoriya and laid on the ground on my back. It's over, it's finally over, we're saved. I couldn't do anything at all, I heard him muttered out in agony. This guy, he really lacks some self-confidence in himself. I wonder if Recovery Girl has a license for psychotherapy. That's not true. If you hadn't given me those few seconds, I'd be dead. I heard All Might spoke as I turned to face him. Midoriya suddenly panicked and tries to block my view with his waving hand. But despite all that, his effort is if not when I saw something I know I shouldn't see at all. A secret that can, and would be, so devastating that if word gets out the entire nation, nay, the world will be plunged into chaos. Hey, All Might, sorry that you have to see this, Tatsuya Shoujo, All Might coughed out. All Might, for all of his heroic stature and prowess equivalent to the tales of the Greek powerhouse of legend, Hercules himself, is literally a standing and talking skeleton of a man. His muscles are all shriveled up, his bones outlined his skin, even his face resembles that of a skull with how sunken his eyes and cheeks are. Whatever heroic presence he has before is completely absent in him. What is this? Why is All Might a skeleton? How long has this been going on? Months? Years? How did people not know? Like seriously, how? Despite all that, that image of a deflated All Might seems to unlock something in my head. That very something seems to start to leak from the depths of my mind. Information starts flowing in my mind as something seems to start to click and make sense. The familiarity of Midoriya and Bakugo, Namu, even when I think about, I thought I've seen my classmates once before besides during the entrance exam. Then 2 phrases came to mind. One for all for one. I unknowingly spat out these 2 phrases, both Midoriya's and All Might's eyes all widen at the same time. I can't believe I'm so stupid, so goddamn stupid, all of it. The quirk assessment, the battle trial, even this mishap of a class. It follows almost exactly like how in the My Hero Academia I was involved with the story's plot the entire time, and I was none the wiser. Hey Midoriya, Tetsuya Kirishima calls out as he runs towards us. You guys okay? Now I understand why Midoriya panics. This is bad, really, really bad. Wait, Kirishima. Before he can even come close to us, a large wall of concrete surfaces up from the ground, separating us from his view. We need to make sure all you students are safe, our savior, Cementos tells our red-headed friend from behind the wall, so please head over to the gate. I'll deal with the wounded. All right, of course, understood, Cementos-sensei. With that, I hear his footsteps disappearing, letting me to let go of the breath that I wasn't even sure I was holding. That was way too close. That was a close one, All Might sighs as he sat down. Thanks for that, Cementos. It's no problem, he stated with a smile. I'm a big fan of yours after all. Now, let's get you to the nurse's office without revealing this side of you. But on all honesty, you got to stop overdoing it. I'd be dead if I didn't. And Tatsuya-kun. I flinched at the mention of my name as the literature teacher stares at me. I know you have many questions, but please leave it till after you got that hand of yours looked okay. Why yes, Cementos-sensei. Looks like I'll be expecting a meeting with Nezu soon. To be continued. I'll make. Deku stared at the clock, its second hand slowly ticking down with a tick every second. His mind just keeps going back to what happened a few minutes ago. Almost a half hour into their heroics law class, Maki got a call, and a few seconds later, they are dismissed for self-study as he ran out of the class in a hurry. And he saw those eyes before, when his uncle was told that one of the tenants has started a fire in their flat. Thankfully, the flat wasn't burned down, just that one unit's kitchen. And Maki has the exact same expression, along with a few of the teachers who has passed by, all of them having the same panicked expression. Whatever happened mustn't be good, like that time with the journalist from last week. Hey, Tetsu suddenly calls out as he nearly ran into his friend's desk. Did you hear? One of Class 1A came running back a few moments ago. Really? Who? One of his classmates, Setsuna Takage asked. Tenya. You know, the exit sign guy. Oh, him. Why did he came running back? Did something happen? Hey, didn't the teachers just run off somewhere a few minutes ago as well? Wasn't Class 1A doing the practical class today? I saw them leave in their hero costume. Teku starts to panic. Jenko is in Class 1A, and if something happened to them, whatever you are planning on doing, don't. Their class president, Kendo Itsuka, calls out to him, walking up to him with her hands on her hips. Herma-sensei has told us to stay put for self-study. But, Naru, fine. He lets out a sigh as he clenches his fist tightly. Jenko, you better be okay. After the whole debacle and the villains are all arrested, both me and Midoriya along with All Might are taken to the nurse's office for treatment by Recovery Girl. Both Aizawa and 13 have grave wounds that need surgery, so they are sent to the hospital immediately. The trip back to school is really tense. I still can't believe how dumb I was to not figure out that I got involved in the plot since the start of the semester. I mean, the two protagonists of the series are my classmates, for God's sake, how did I even miss that? Other than that, I have noticed both All Might and Midoriya's stares towards me. I shouldn't have said the Quirk's name out loud. They are this world's greatest secret, after all. Just knowing their names must have sent warnings that I know a lot more than I let on, which, to be fair, I didn't remember until just hours ago. But if that's the case, then the plot has proceeded as normal. All Might fought the Namu and won, if just barely. Things will go back to normal with the sports festival and then the workplace training. Go God. Workplace training, where Ida's brother suffered an attack from Stain and is left paralyzed from the waist down, which then leads to Ida going full Sasuke and seek vengeance against him. All of that would happen a few weeks down the line. What I do? I want to help, but what if doing that changes the plot to a point that it made things worse? What if just by doing such a thing, Ida didn't learn from his mistake and choose not to help in the whole rescue Bakugo thing? Without his help, they would have an even smaller chance of even rescuing him or even surviving. Considering that it was Ida that has stopped Midoriya from rushing to his death, but should I just leave a potential victim for the sake of a future good that will end up doing? Is that what a hero should do? God, I wish I have remained ignorant about the whole thing. At least I've no need to fuss over this dilemma. Once we reached the nurse's office, Recovery Girl went to work healing and bandaging up the injured parties. I was the last one to get patched up, considering the severity of my wound is mostly due to bleeding and infection, something that take a less priority than broken limbs and cracked ribs. Your wrist should be fine. You managed to apply first aid in time, she tells me as she handed me a few wrapped candies after bandaging up my wrist properly. Luckily, it only affected the skin, so your nerves are unharmed for the most part. But if you feel any numbness, please come to me immediately. Yes, ma'am, I muttered as I unwrapped one of them and popped it into my mouth. Cherry. Was expecting a different flavor. Now about you two. She turns to face All Might and Midoriya, both of them laying on the beds with bandages wrapped around their respective wounds. Due to the situation, I can't exactly scold you guys this time. But you still shouldn't have overdone it, All Might. I know, he stated with a morbid look on his skeleton-looking face. Still can't believe that this is All Might, the same hero with that enormous frame and hopeful smile. I think I may have shortened my time limit gain. I'll be lucky if I can get even an hour per day now. All Might's fan, successor, muttered in anguish. What are you going to do? All Might states as he gets up from the bed. Bad things happen. And speaking of bad things, he turns to me and I flinched on the stool I am sitting on. Tatsuya Shoujo, I take it that you have a lot of questions. A lot is a bit of an understatement, I muttered out. But before I can answer that, please answer me this. He stares at me as he asked, why do you know about One for All? I freeze on the spot, no idea on what I should say. What should I even say? That I read all your life story in a manga in another world where I am a normal quirkless person, and that I'm actually a reincarnated person from that world, and I know everything that is about to happen in the next few months, and that you have only until summer before you have to retire from the #1 spot, and that your greatest enemy will no doubt cause that retirement, and your psychic that you have unintentionally abandoned is going to die by fall. Thinking about all that, if I've said all of that out loud, they are going to think I am crazy. I think I'm crazy. Why can't I just don't remember any of that and just live out my life as the hero in training Tetsuya Jenko? Why do I have to remember all of this now? Tatsuya-san. I can feel Midoriya's innocent-looking gaze at me as I struggle to come up with something. Come on, anything, just give him an answer. This is. The door sliding open became my saving grace as everyone's attention went off me to the person entering the room. It's a tall Japanese man in a brown trench coat, pardoning himself from entering while taking off his brown fedora. His features are for the most normal-looking, an average Japanese male's face with the standard black hair and dark eyes. Long time no see, All Might. Tsukachi, the blonde skeleton stated in shock. I didn't know you were here. All Might, is this okay? I hear my classmate cried out in surprise. I mean, you're. Relax, it's fine. Why, you ask? Because this is my favorite detective on the force, good old Naomasa Tsukachi. Haha, thanks for that weird intro. The detective laughed, not to rush you or anything, but I'd like to ask about these villains that attacked you. Wait, before that, are the students all right? The hero asked, and Aizawa would have erased her head. And 13, you never changed, do you? Tsukachi let out a sigh, his expression never changing. Besides your 2 kids over there, the students got nothing more than a few bumps and bruises. And the 2 teachers all got out fine. It is thanks to you 3 heroes for putting your lives on the line for them that they made it out unscathed. I see that's good to hear. All Might sighed in relief, but you got one thing wrong, Tsukachi. In this fight, all the students have put their lives on the line too to be thrown into a real battle so young and early in their education, and survived. Now these first years know how scary the big bad world can be. Have you ever heard of such a class? These foolish villains picked the wrong fight for thanks to this experience. The members of Class 1A will grow to become some of the mightiest heroes. I'm going to make sure of that. I honestly wasn't sure what to make of it. To be complimented by the number 1 hero like this, for him to state his faith in our growth like that. It's an honor beyond believed. Almost made me forget that the world is going to be facing a large shift in the near future. I see. Good to know. The detective nodded. Great speech and all, but I would really need to be getting those statements from you, if that's not too much to ask. Oh no, of course not, Midoriya stated out nervously, and ask away. I think I'll start with the least injured in the room. He chuckles. Tetsuya Jenko-san. Please come with me. Of course I got up from my stool before following the detective out of the room. Tetsuya Shoujo. I flinched at the number 1 hero's voice. Please keep my condition a secret from everyone. You mustn't tell anyone about this. Okay. Of course I nodded before continuing out of the room with Tsukachi in the lead. Wouldn't tell anyone even if I'm paid to speak. The world depends on it, after all. The questioning didn't go for very long. The detective mostly asked about the sequence of events from my perspective, what happened and why did I do it, the standard witness testimony. And I answered truthfully and tries to explain everything to the best of my ability. After answering them all, he thanked me and then gave me a small lecture on the law on the use of quirks in self-defense before letting me go. The very moment I left the room, I was met with 2 very worried faces in the corridor. Jenko, are you okay? Deku cried as he shook my shoulders violently when I heard what happened. Deku's stop, I stuttered out as I managed to pull away from his grip. I'm fine. A little injured wrist is all. I raised my bandaged wrist for them to see. Shinsu let out a sigh of relief. That's good news. So, what happened? Villains attacked the USJ. You went to the USJ for training. Deku cried out in shock. So lucky, damn it. I wanted to go there since we were 10. No, not the theme park, I corrected him. 13 really need to change that name. It's a training facility that has the same letters, but it would be awesome to go there, though. Jenko. Oh, alright, I let myself wander off tangent for a bit there. Got to stop doing that. There is this large portal guy that teleported like 100 baddies with their leader. Aizawa-sensei went to stall them to let us escape, but then the portal guy appears in front of the door stopping us. Bakugo and Kirishima went to try and stop him, but then he teleports all of us away. I ended up in the water with Midoriya and Tsuyu, where there are villains waiting for us. The next part is a bit long, so I'll keep it short. We managed to beat the bad guys, try to get to the stairs, but then stopped when this Hulk-looking dude wrecks Aizawa-sensei. Then the leader attack us, All Might shows up, bam bam boom, heroes win, villain run, and then I'm here. I think you missed out the best parts, Deku pointed out. Hey, when All Might arrives, the heroes always win. I noted, before mentally dreading what I just said. Thinking back, the idea of All Might being able to save everyone is really ingrained into our society's subconscious. Once he is gone. And your wrist? Shinsu asked. The leader has the quirk that disintegrates anything he touches. Got my wrist, but luckily the nerves seem to be intact. I demonstrate by giving him a peace sign on my injured hand. Oh, hey, Jenko, Deku suddenly asked, are you really doing fine? Yeah, I'm okay, I grinned for him. It's a bit scary, but it's learning experience, just you wait. I'll be a hero faster than any of you if the plot doesn't try to kill me later down the line. Remind myself to find a hotline for the faculty office later. Alright, if you say so. He nodded with a smile. Oh, Deku, if only you knew about the amount of problems that I would be going to get myself into in the near future. Oh, Tatsuya-kun. A voice calls out as Cementos walks up to us. Glad to catch you before you left school. Principal Nezu wishes to speak with you. The principal? Shinsu asked curiously. Why? Is she in trouble? I'm afraid I can't say too much. I got it. I nodded as I walked towards him with the teacher leading. You guys go back without me. Jenko, it'll be fine. I told Shinsu, nothing to worry about. As Jenko walks away with teacher in the lead, Shinsu turns to his friend, Deku, having a worried expression on his face. She's doing it again. The brown-haired teen tells him. Again. Every time she is troubled, she always just smiles and tells me it is fine. He explained, that hasn't changed since we were in kindergarten. You think that something happened in the USJ troubles her? Shinsu asked. Yeah. He nodded, but I doubt she'll tell us the truth if we asked. On our way to the principal's office, I couldn't help feeling like a culprit about to be outed for my crimes. All Might, or at least Recovery Girl, must have told him about what I muttered out back in USJ. And knowing that Nezu is quite a smart fellow, I can't help but fear my future here in this school. How am I going to explain myself? I mean, knowledge of One for All is strictly a secret for various reasons, and for me, an average high school girl happening to find out about it, I doubt there's little I can do to hide the truth from them. But would they even believe the truth? That I am a reincarnation from another world that happens to have this world's greatest story told in a manga book? How is anyone going to think if I said that? We're here, Cementos tells me as we stand in front of a door with the words written clearly on the plaque over it. The concrete hero knocks on the door, pardoning himself before opening the door. The office is a large room with a few cabinets on the side that houses several files and books, with a few photo frames decorating the walls, along with a large lone clock ticking in on the wall in the corner. At the end of the room lies a large wooden desk where Nezu is sitting, his eyes unchanging as usual, but I get a sense that he is observing me for some reason. "Ah, Tatsuya-kun," he greeted. Come in, come in." I entered the room as Cementos closes the door behind me. "Please, take a seat." I walk up to the desk and sat down on chair offered. "I believe you know why I asked of you. Is it about All Might?" I asked worriedly. Yes, that one." He nodded. "But before that, would you like some tea?" He pushes a teacup towards me. The scent of freshly brewed green tea teases my nostrils. "Oh, thank you." I pick up the cup and sips a little. This is definitely not the instant kind. The warm feeling of hot tea in my stomach somewhat calms down the butterflies in my guy. My nerves slowly and steadily ease off. "Tatsuya-kun." Nezu speaks at me with a somewhat benevolent tone. "I can assure you that as a principal of Yui, I would do no harm to any student of our lovely campus. Whatever you may say, it will be of the privacy in this room. Nothing will leave this room unless I say so." I placed my cup back on the table as I processed what he just said. So, he's assuring me that I won't be punished too badly. That this is not an interrogation. Is that what the tea is about? But despite his kind demeanor, I can't help but remember that scene where he is playing around with Kaminari and Ishido during their end-of-term exams. Under all that lies a dangerously smart individual. Cute, but dangerous. With that being said, he crosses his hands. Pause. "May I ask, how do you know about One for All?" There it is, the question that I am fearing. Dozens of possible replies races through my mind as I try to come up with an excuse as to how I know such thing. But no matter what I came up with, I can't help fearing that Nezu will just see right through it regardless, that I would be cornered all the same. How can I not? Nezu is considered one of the smartest people of this world, proven fact with countless of articles about him that I found out due to curiosity. And if all options of lying are deemed impossible, then the only option left is... Are you familiar with the term reincarnation? You mean the cycle of rebirth that is so prevalent in Buddhism and Hinduism? He asked. Yes, I am quite familiar with that concept. Why? Well, I blurted out everything. My situation as a reincarnated human that somehow reborn into this world with the memories of my past life mostly intact, to the fact that this world was nothing but fiction from my previous life's world. The entire truth is laid out in front of him, no lies and no half-truths. After everything is said and done, I took a sip of my tea as I await the verdict nervously. What's going to happen now? Is everything you said true? Yes, I nodded. Well, not all of it. There are things that have changed due to me being born here. Like mine being in class 1B instead of 1A, or the fact that Deku is even in the school to begin with. I see he nods in response. Then in just a few short months, the symbol of peace, he looked at me. His eyes seemed to reflect some signs of understanding and a bit of pity. You can be assured that nothing you said will leave this room. Will you tell All Might about this? I asked worriedly. That's up to me to worry about, Tatsuya-kun. He smiled as he glanced at the clock on the wall. I've took up too much of your time already. Why don't you head on home? Classes are cancelled for tomorrow, so take the time to get some well-deserved rest. Thank you, sir. I bowed politely to him before I made my way to the door. Tatsuya-kun. His voice stopped me just as I had my hand on the handle. I'm proud of you with what you did today. You may not be there yet, but I can see the great heroine you'll become in the future. Keep up your studies and work hard. I turned to him, bowed once more before leaving the room behind me. The moment I reached my room, I didn't even bother changing out of my uniform as I tosses my bag to one side and plopped face first right onto my bed. I am exhausted, mentally and physically. The whole debacle with the USJ has sucked everything out of me, and the thing about me realizing that I unknowingly got sucked into the plot despite the signs of it screaming right in my face. Again, why did I have to remember it? I'd rather be ignorant of the entire thing than worry about the eventual downfall of the era of All Might, or even the fact the reemergence of All for One. That guy creeps me out. Nonetheless, I know remember the whole plot now, better write things down to plan for future trouble. With that thought in mind, I hesitantly got up and dug into my drawer for a spare sketchbook to chart out the whole plot. Let's see, the latest chapter I've read ended with the whole endeavor trying to make up for his past sins to his family, so once that has passed, I'm running blind now for the next few events. The sports festival will come regardless of what I do, so I'll just leave it be and have fun in it. That reminds me, I better start sparring with Deku and Shinsu again. Need to keep in shape for the tournament if I'm going to make any impression. I need to find a substitute way to gain charge beside using a battery. After that is the workplace training with the fight against Stain. Stain has always been a favorite villain for the fans since his introduction. From his anti-hero work for his own idealistic version of heroes, to his undying resolve to carry out his ideal to the end, there is a lot to like about him. Heck, if I have to do a top 10 villains in anime, Stain is probably be one of the candidates. But now it's different. Stain isn't some fictional character anymore. He's a living person and a major threat that need to be stopped. It is thanks to him that Ida's brother got paralyzed, which then lead our class rep to track him down for revenge Uchiha style. But even if I hate it, I can't really do anything. I'm just some high school girl. A superpowered high school girl, but a high school girl still. There are things that I can't do. This isn't the world of Naruto, where kids can become adult far earlier than they should. So then what should I do? Nothing, I suppose. If it goes according to the plot, everything will work out eventually. Sure, there will be some bumps in the road, but no one would actually die, at least not during that arc. But can I live with myself if I let it all happen? That with the price of a hero's career, and proper hero nonetheless, this great evil will be taken down. That for the events that lead up to Stain's capture to occur, the sacrifice of a lone hero is necessary. For the price of the few, the many will be saved. I quoted one hero of justice. Is this the cruel reality that I have to face? That I would have to make this choice? No, there was never a choice to begin with. If I can't even save one person, what kind of hero will I be? I know this path is filled with hardships the moment I chose to become a hero. Even so, I've chose to walk on it. I won't quit, not when I just left the starting line. If I can't make it past this hurdle, then I have no right to become a hero. I will save him. I have to. It's my duty to do so. To be continued. I'll make. Tetsu screwed in the last bolt in place before taking a few steps back. They're done. What do you think? It's a bit tight around the chest, his middle school sister answers. She wearing a large harness that covers the entire body with two metallic bracers around her wrists that has two small gas cylinders connected to it and has wires trailing up her arm to the metallic backpack, along with a motorcycle helmet covering her entire head. Is it supposed to be like this? Must have grown, he mutters to himself before turning back to her. Does it hurt anywhere else? Not really. Then it'll be fine. He turns to his assistants. Camera, ready. Deku raises the device and gives him a thumbs up. Emergency call on Speedio. Shinsu shows his phone with the ambulance number already dialed in. Okay. Now, Jenko, if you are feeling any discomfort or pain, please let us know. Got it. Right. He took a look around their test site. An abandoned warehouse that is technical college owned for testing purposes with several mattresses lying about. Ready to record, and he raises his finger up and counts down. 3, 2. He closed his fist as Deku presses the record button. This is movement harness prototype. Test 15 of the pull test. I've lowered the speed of the motor for the pulley system since the previous test ended up with a little complication. I was shot through the roof. Shinsu voices out angrily. Regardless, he ignores him as he continues. I believe that with this test, we may have finally fixed the problem. You say that the last 14 times, too. Deku added in. Hey, who's the inventor here? Tetsu asked rather angrily. Now, beginning test. Genshin, you ready? Ready. She aimed towards one of the warehouse's pillars a good distance away, her thumb gliding over the button on the bracer closest to it. Shooting in 3, 2. She presses down. Something shoots out of the top of it and latches into the concrete pillar. Hook set starting reeling sequence. You know, you don't have to say it like that, Deku commented. But it's more fun that way, she noted as she lets go of the button. The line starts reeling back in and pulling her forward with it. At first, it seems okay. But then she starts to speed up and up till she overshoots the pillar, pulling out the hook in the process, and she is sent flying while screaming. A second later, a loud crash can be heard as Jenko lands face first into the cushioned wall in front of her. Jenko. The 3 guys rush towards her as she slides off the wall and collapses on the mattress below. You okay? Her brother asked worriedly. Guess it still needs more adjustments, huh? Shinsu noted. You don't say. Tetsu commented dryly. Look at all the birdies.